Hello, 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 everybody. How you doing today? No, really. I mean, how are you doing today? Let me ask you a question. How are you doing? I'm doing well. Are you doing well? In fact, this is the best day I've had all day. Let me make sure our streaming is up and going. I think we're up on Rumble. That is our preferred platform. You can give us super chats, or what do they call them? What do they call them? A rant. There you go. So you can tip us a buck, or I don't know how the rants work, but you can tip us rants on Rumble. That's pretty cool. Also, we're monetized on that channel, which is fantastic because YouTube stole that from me. I'm looking and I don't see us on Facebook. I'm glad I noticed because I need to switch that. That was clicked earlier. Streaming has been a little glitchy these days. So at the beginning of the program, since I am the producer and I'm the on-air talent and I'm the researcher and I am the booking agent and I'm the editor and I'm the graphics designer, I'm all of the things. Okay, it looks like we're live on Facebook. Follow the New American Media on Facebook, please. There we go. Streaming live now. Gonna go ahead and send this to our groups. So we have 3 groups: TNAM's The Agree to Disagree Show, TNAM Fake News, Debunking Conspiracy Theories and Propaganda, TNAM Preparedness. You know what? We're gonna stream to the Unhappy Hour today. Talking Dodgers, Trump, Gators, Cougars, and all the news. Join us live right now. Sent. Good. Streaming. Good. I think we are ready. David Bann is here. Here, let's go ahead and put the chat on the overlay. Perfect. David is here. Hopefully maybe Kenneth will join us. And then maybe Jim. Jim's joined us the past couple of days. Jim had something nice to say yesterday. He's like, you know, I caught your show the other day and you kind of made me feel like I was one of the members. Like I was part of the show. David, you probably have that experience, right? Up in Ontario, I believe. I try to consider this like I am the bartender. You are the customers. You are the regulars. Some of you are first timers. Hey, first time in this place. I don't know. I'll take a beer. And I don't know. You got the game on? All right, I'll watch the game. I love unpacking the news with customers, with regulars. I've been a bartender my whole life. We're talking sports today, so we're going to discuss the Unhappy Hour. The Unhappy Hour Sports Show. By the way, if anybody wants these, they are on Venmo. You just shoot me $30 and I'll send you one of these. Or if you shoot me $50, I'll send you both. That includes shipping, I believe. What a deal, actually. These are wooden, Ohio made. Look at the quality of these things. The Unhappy Hour Sports Show. Here, let me put up where you can donate. Yeah, if anybody wanted to donate on Venmo, go ahead and it's 30 for one or 50 for both. And then there's also the pin in here. It's upside down. These are 25. The Unhappy Hour Sports Show. So for $75 Venmo donation, just put your address on and I will send you all 3 of these. Look at these wooden coasters, thick wooden coasters. Look at how nice. Wood. Ohio made, too. Not coming in from some slave labor country. But yeah, I'm showing you this because we're going to talk about some sports today. Shohei Ohtani, Clayton Kershaw, and the Los Angeles Dodgers went to go meet President Trump in the White House. Man, I'm glad we're back to that. All this virtue signaling. I'm not going to the White House. I don't like Republicans crap that you've seen for so many years out of the tolerant left. It's the White House. Go. You got something to say? You have the president's ear for 20 seconds. Shake his hand, look him in the eye and say, hey, I have thoughts on this issue. Can I talk to you about this? Is there any chance we could reconsider what's going on here? I'm not a fan of this. You have the president's attention. Talk to him. That is the president's superpower, by the way. Oh, I think David is saying absolutely. He feels like part of the show. I think that's what you meant. Although I do ask David, and not just David, but everybody, when you type a comment, try to type a sentence, because I'm juggling chainsaws and apples. I'm trying to grab the right one and avoid the wrong one. I lose track of what I'm talking about, what the comments are. But yeah, I do. I try to make everybody feel welcome in my bar. I want everyone to feel like they're having a good time and like their opinion matters. And man, Scott Adams, man, I'm like going through my Rolodex. Like, what's that dude's name? Scott Adams talks about when he met President Trump and how they were setting up. Kid Rock was setting up a meeting with Bill Maher, and Scott Adams was talking about like Trump has a superpower. A sentence. Our resident smartass is here. I said type a sentence into the comments. So, of course, Kenneth types a sentence. Here, maybe I can pin that comment. Yeah, okay, Blue Jays fan over there. Kenneth, you're from Minnesota, living in Florida. Are you a Marlins fan? Are you a Twins fan? I am a Cleveland Indians fan. They stole my doggone team from me. Where's it at? Oh, there we go. Chief Wahoo, the best character in all of sports. They got rid of him because of George Floyd? Make that make sense. You cannot look at our Chief Wahoo and not... He has the best smile on earth. He's the greatest logo ever created. I want him back. I want my team name back. I want the Cleveland Indians back. They call him the Guardians, so I root for him. But anyway, today we're broadcasting on the Unhappy Hour Sports Show on YouTube. Don't normally do that for this program, the TNAM AM Show, here on the New American Media. But we will today, because we're gonna talk about the Florida Gators, and we're also gonna talk about Shohei Ohtani and the Dodgers. So I figured let's go ahead and broadcast to the Unhappy Hour while we're at it. Let's do that, shall we? So without further delay, let's actually launch today's show. Does David or Kenneth or anyone else out there, have you learned the intro to this show yet? Do you know what I'm about to say for the intro to the TNAM AM Show? Oh, it says the Agree to Disagree Show here. Let me change it to the TNAM AM Show. I think I got in under the mid. Oh, no, I didn't. I think it's technically Agree to Disagree. It doesn't matter. It's the same podcast. And let me put where you can find all of our podcasts up on the screen. All right, we are good to go. Broadcasting to you live from the Orion spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, somewhere in between two formerly tariffed nations. My name is Brian Engelman. Today is Tuesday, April 8th, 2025, and this is the TNAM AM Show here on the New American Media, because the old American media has failed you. Heck yeah. So, of course, we're going to discuss, look, right off the top, how do I share this tab? What's going on here? This page. Houston, we have a problem. Houston lost the game. Kelvin Sampson, the coach of Houston, called last night's NCAA men's basketball championship ending incomprehensible. I watched all of it. A friend of a friend is a Houston fan, so I said, fine, I'll root for Houston. Gives me a reason to watch. I don't normally care, but I watched. I didn't put money on it, but I was pulling for Houston. So nearly an hour after Houston coach Kelvin Sampson walked off the court, amid flurries of Florida-colored orange and blue confetti, he stood in front of a black curtain in a hallway in the Alamo Dome. Sampson, 69 years old, faced a phalanx of television lights that illuminated him at his most crushing professional low. The lights shined on his close-cropped hair, which is more salt than pepper, as midnight quickly approached. With his arms folded across his chest and the NCAA final pin adjacent to the UH logo on his gray polo, Sampson distilled the disappointment of Houston squandering a 12-point lead in the second half and ending the national title game with 4 consecutive turnovers in a 65-63 loss to Florida. So there's a lot of teams that are not built for 6 straight wins, referring to the number needed to win the NCAA tournament. This team was built. This team had the character and the toughness and the leadership. They were built to win this tournament. That's why it's so disappointing. We got here, had a chance, and just didn't get it done. The scene unfolded as the inverse of Houston's stunning comeback win over Duke in the national semifinal. Yeah, Houston came back, trailing Duke by quite a bit, and then they let Florida come back. Karma's weird that way, man. The universe is tough. You feel like you're destined for great things because you did something great, but then the same thing happens to you, and it's no fun being on the other side of that, let me tell you. As a Cleveland fan, I've dealt with my fair share of that. But yes, it was the inverse. The Cougars wilted in the final minute, somehow not having a ball touch the rim on the final 3 possessions. That is fairly unforgivable. I'm trying to see why Rumble is not streaming. Rumble's been weird twice. Try it a third time. Third time's the charm, they say. But yeah, nearly 48 hours after scoring the game's last 9 points in 33 seconds to stun the Duke Blue Devils on Saturday, Houston managed to lose a game that it controlled throughout and trailed for only 63 seconds. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, and that final play, dude got the ball and just, I don't know what that was. He dribbled, but then he jumped and he couldn't touch it again, and then Florida got the ball. It was really weird. But congratulations to Florida. I don't know, is it a Houston comeback or a Florida comeback or a Houston collapse? It's both. I mean, it's fine. It's both. Because once again, Florida spotted him all those points in the beginning. So I don't know. It just wasn't great coaching at the end of the game. They really let things get away from them. But they were starting to have problems with some of the passes. In the second half, I was noticing they were getting trapped. They were stopping their dribble, and the defense had tightened up, and Houston was not in a good position to get the ball to the right people and they were going to start turning it over. I started calling it out pretty quick in the second half, and these things only exacerbated as the seconds rolled off the clock. These issues became more pronounced, and it kind of led to that final possession where Houston had a chance, and they didn't even get a shot off. Fail. You can make a miss. You can't fail to take the shot. That's just so. We'll see. Kelvin Sampson, he's 69 years old. I think he's the oldest coach. I don't know. We'll see if he's back. He got him there, but not good coaching at the end. Now let's go ahead and click on the Los Angeles Dodgers here. And let's talk about this. We have some more stuff. Where's the news? Oh, yeah, here we go. Ohtani and Betts and Dodgers visit President Trump at the White House. Oh, ESPN is going to try like hell to spin this into something angry and divisive and political. ABC, ESPN, Disney, one of the worst companies on earth, with Google, YouTube, Alphabet, with Instagram, Facebook, Meta. Why are they one of the worst companies on earth? Those three conglomerates, rather, because they hate you. They hate me. They silence me. So Google, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Meta, awful company. No customer service, no escalatory measures to correct problems, punitive measures to suspend accounts, silence accounts, mute accounts, demonetize accounts, shadow ban accounts, temporarily block you out of accounts. No accountability. They're a private company. They can do whatever they want. Not when they're taking direction from the U.S. federal government, like we've known that they were doing for many, 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 many years. And don't think Google and Facebook popped up out of nowhere. They were always a deep state creation. You know that. Now, ABC, ESPN, Disney, different. Now, ABC, along with NBC, CBS, Fox, they've all lobbied with YouTube. You know, you need to have qualitative sources. What do they call them? I don't think it was qualitative. They were called not affirmative. It was essentially that they wanted trustworthy sources to provide the news. I've said it before, but this is just the perfect example. I did an Ariana Grande concert video because there was a shooting and a mass panic somewhere in Europe. And I went on, I did a live broadcast for 5-10 minutes. Just, hey, here's what's going on. Here's what you need to know. And by the way, here's some tips if you're going out to large gatherings. This was at the height of the Obama caliphate, ISIS, ISIL, let's lead an Islamic revolution everywhere kind of phase of America. If you can think back to those Obama terms, the chaos that they were pushing all across the globe. I mean, it was terrorist attack after terrorist attack, Islamic terrorist attack, Islamic terrorist attack, Islamic terrorist attack. It was like Groundhog Day. And so any gathering, and by the way, if you go back on YouTube, you'll see me interview one of the members of Eagles of Death Metal. And he was at the concert at the Bataclan that was shot up by, I believe that was an Islamic terrorist attack. And I did a video just saying, hey, look, I'm a music fan. I'm a live event person. I've booked events. I've gone to events, concerts, comedy shows. I live in the live space. Here's what you do. When you park, you all make sure you have a picture of it. You know exactly how to get, where's the cross street, because you get turned around in these places and you think you're in one spot. You walk out another door and you don't recognize anything. And then you're blocked access. You can't get to there. You got to go all the way around. So number one, take pictures of your surroundings. Number two, set up a secondary meeting point in between where your car is and where you're at before you get inside the venue and go, if we get outside and things are chaos, let's meet at the corner at this bar. Let's meet right here at this bar and restaurant, right over here. Because that's how you prepare for incidents like this. Then when you're inside, you go, all right, where are the exits? There, and there. If anything were to happen, we'll go out this way. And if we can't, we'll try to meet here in the lobby. You set a secondary location point. Because if there's chaos and everyone starts running and you're trying to flee for your life, because these mass shootings were like a staple of the Obama era. Are you saying that Barack Obama was shooting people? No, not saying that. No, that's pretty ridiculous. Pretty ridiculous. No. Nah. He was just the puppet master behind all the people that were doing it. Allegedly. Or no, it's all just coincidental, right? That's it. It's all just coincidental. Anyway, I did this broadcast because Ariana Grande concert was a big deal because there was a shooting and it was chaos and as people were running, I'm like, have a plan. Get your meetup point, get your pictures, get a secondary meetup point, and then know your exits once you sit down, which one you're going to go to if you can go that way. And if you get to out inside the venue, where's a secondary meetup place inside the venue if you're away from your seats and you have to flee and find each other. Pretty basic story. Bam, demonetized, taken down. That's sensitive subject matter. Oh, that's sensitive subject matter. You mean the news? That's what I do, the new American media. Oh, the news is too sensitive and you can't advertise. But you know what? When I had that video up on the side panel, like it shows Kenneth and David leaving comments. By the way, however you're watching today, everybody out there, hit like, hit subscribe. If you're on an app and you can hit the thumbs up sign or the heart button or the rant button on Rumble, by the way, use the rant button. Please do that and engage with comments. Type your name and wherever you're at, leave us a comment so we can say hello to you. I know we got lurkers back there that don't normally type while they watch, but I'm inviting you into the conversation. But what I was saying is, like, you see these comments here on the side of the screen, all of the suggested videos, remember before they started really screwing with the algorithm? Every suggested video was ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox News, all with live reporting about the Ariana Grande concert shooting. They were, I think the phrase was authoritative sources. I think that's the word I was looking for earlier. Authoritative sources, I think. You see, the real news can cover the news, but no, we're not gonna. We can't allow Brian Engelman and the new American media to cover the news because, well, we don't want the truth to get in the way of a good narrative, huh? What did Rahm Emanuel say, the former Obama chief of staff? Never miss the opportunity to take advantage of a crisis. Remember that? Pushing to disarm us like England. Remember, that was a nonstop push to take our Second Amendment rights away by that monster, Barack Hussein Obama. You remember him? They were trying to take our weapons away. And it just seemed like oh my gosh, almost every week, every month, there's another school shooting. There's another attack. There's another Islamic attack. Oh my gosh, the problem isn't the people and the ideology that's driving them to this. It's the tool that they're using. We got to get rid of the tools. Think of the children. Yeah, I do think of the children when I keep my tool to defend the children against monsters. Thank you very much. But that was all coincidental too. Remember when Alex had a theory on that and maybe went a little too far with that, yeah? Was he directionally correct on the topic? Well, you can make your own determination about that. But the point is, all of the videos on the side of the screen on YouTube, they said Fox News, ABC, CBS, NBC. You guys can advertise. You can get you click the button, they'll show you a Chevrolet truck commercial. Oh, look at that. Pepsi Cola. Oh, look, they're advertising. But you can't advertise on the new American media. So when I say ABC, ESPN, Disney are a trash company, one, they're super divisive, still pushing the Obama agenda, the woke, divisive, racist, not misogynist, what? Misandrist? Is that what it's called? To be against men? They push division on Jimmy Kimmel. They've even got Billy Burr. Oh, Billy boy. Billy Burr going out on what? ABC's The View? Is that ABC? Going on Jimmy Kimmel, doing woke stuff because he's now a part of the Mandalorian on Star Wars, so he has to toe the party line. You know, when they talk about selling your soul, there is something Faustian, there is something, Devil Went Down to Georgia kind of stuff to that, selling your soul. But there's also just, you sell your autonomy to be authentic. And that's why I've never really pursued working with another company. Bella's Chance. Hello, Bella's Chance. Can you remind me again, where are you at? I know David is in Ontario and Kenneth is in Florida. I forget where you're at. Bella's Chance says, yes, wholeheartedly agree. Obama equals a monster, evil in his core. By the way, I am now probably leading these astroturfed protests all across America. Folks out there, they don't like Elon Musk and Donald Trump going after U.S. aid because that funds our ability to fund those folks, and we will not tolerate it. Uh, uh, you know, if I had a son, he wouldn't look anything like Elon Musk. So we're going to oppose what those folks are doing because our folks, don't give them the old okey doke. I told Michelle the other day, that Donald Trump, maybe we did try to lawfare him. We did try to end him in Butler, allegedly, but I think eventually we will win the day as long as you get out there. You folks get out there and show them hands off, hands off, kind of like Michelle and I in the bedroom these days. It's very frigid, very frigid. If I could be blunt, but hands off, Social Security and Medicare and everything that the folks like. Michelle told me, the folks, they might have voted Trump, but the folks, they are still under the spell of our lying legacy media and Project Mockingbird and George Soros and the other one, the Smith-Mundt Act that I reversed. People on the right, they say, I have ideas on politics. And I say, you didn't build that. Those aren't your ideas. You're building your ideas off of other ideas. Therefore, you're not allowed to speak those ideas. Anyway, sorry, guys. When you get me talking Obama, I just live in Obama. I could probably do an entire dissertation. I could probably do an entire show as Obama. I don't even think it's one of my better impressions. I think I do get some of the cadence right. I think it needs to be a little deeper. I love focusing on when he starts stuttering and stammering. Because when he's off script, he's really off script. And oh my God, does he look like a sick, frail, diseased, elderly, powerless has-been. When I saw him, gaunt features, looking like a barely manicured skeleton with short gray hair, wifeless or partnerless, on the campaign trail. The week of the election, I repeated the fine people hoax, saying that Donald Trump called Nazis fine people. I know that never happened, and Snopes knows that never happened. But I think the people, the folks, as Michelle and I like to call them, the folks, I think the folks are stupid enough to believe that racist lie of mine if I say it enough. So I said it again, even though Snopes debunked it. You don't hate Obama enough. The racial arson that this man has committed across the globe, the destabilizing efforts. Remember, it was Obama who's behind Ukraine, Russia, Burisma, Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, Barack Hussein Obama, Victoria Nuland, the deep state. They are the ones that overthrew Ukraine and put their puppet Zelensky in. They are the ones who kept pushing weapons and pushing over to Russia, saying, we're going to make Ukraine a NATO nation. We're going to have this fight one way or another. And Putin finally had enough of the crap. Remember when the Cuban Missile Crisis put a bunch of Russian weapons, nuclear submarines, nuclear armed submarines is what all sorts of claims and worries that all of that stuff was right up against the edge of Florida. the Bay of Pigs. Remember Operation Northwoods? They were going to try to kill Americans to blame it on Cuba so that we could get involved, and then by proxy get into that Russia war. This is a long-standing stream of bullshit that we've been getting from people. But it is Barack Obama who started this Ukraine war by overthrowing Zelensky, everything Hunter, the Burisma Energy Company, Joe Biden, the big guy, 10% for him. I am starting to pull out my hair about Pam Bondi, Attorney General, Kash Patel, Director of the FBI, Dan Bongino, Assistant Director of the FBI. What are we waiting for? Either, it cannot be both. Either, when I said that, I feel like I did that in the cadence of Obama. It cannot be both. It cannot be both. Anyway, either the deep state Democrats are guilty as sin, treasonous, corrupt, and indictable. All of them. The Schumers, the Pelosi's, the Obamas, the Clintons. Go down the list of the Democrat deep state. Or all of the news that I have consumed has been incorrect. And they're great stand-up people. I don't know what everybody is waiting for. Tulsi Gabbard. What are Adam Schiff? Liz Cheney. This is not just Democrat. This is anti-American people who have been put into a position as a Manchurian candidate, as a puppet, to oversee the controlled implosion of the United States of America. Oh, there was nothing these people love doing more than destabilizing and destroying this nation. Selling America out for 40 pieces of silver. Oh, forget your eternal soul. Nah. No, forget your legacy. Who needs it? Let's take a few, I don't know, $40 more million. Then I will have no scruples, no morals, no concern about everyday Americans, as long as I get mine. It's the selfish lover theory. As long as I get mine. You know? As long as I get mine, I'm going to be fine. Yeah, well, eventually, you know what happens if you don't please your partner? You know what that turns into? They're going to get a little pissed. Oh, they might leave. Or they might take control of the situation. Let me break free from this analogy here, because this is where it gets a little different. But Bella's chance, you're saying, yes, me too? What are they waiting for? Hold on, I'm going to go back in the comments. Bella's chance said, don't impersonate him. Please. I told Michelle. All right, I'll stop. He keeps doing the Barack Obama. Oh, geez, I got to figure out how to do my RFK Jr. I told him I don't think it's very funny when you do the different impressions of him. He talks the way that he talks, and I talk the way that I talk. I don't find Brian's impressions to be all that witty or incisive, but it is his right as an American to do those things. I couldn't figure out how to get it. I couldn't find the on-ramp. I'm like, how do I start doing the RFK? It's all in the abdomen. It's all in the chest muscles. I really have to be careful. I don't want to have myself a hernia. I gotta be careful with that. All right, Bella's chance thought it was okay doing the RFK Jr. I'll do that. RFK is not okay. Kenneth, what's your favorite impression? I know what he's going to say. He's going to type 3 words. Anyway, no, I will stop. I can stop. But really, once I get there's once you get a couple of catchphrases, the folks, Michelle said, I was talking to Michelle. It's like when you find a couple of things to hang your hat on, you keep hanging your hat. They said, sir, what about the Donald? What about doing the Trump, the fired up Trump, not the sniffly, laid back grandpa Trump, but what about me telling the world about tariffs? And by the way, the fake news will not show you, but the Dow Jones went up bigly today. All of the complainers missed the boat. Trump is up. Dow is up. Anyway, all right. Can I get back to what I was talking about? Disney being a horrible company. I am off on a side road at this moment in time. I am off-roading. Robin McBride, what's up, Robin? It's come out that Pam Bondi's ex married 2 years, 20 ago. What's that mean? Married 2 years, 20 years ago. Pam Bondi's ex, the person she was married to 20 years ago. There we go. The ex's name is on the Epstein list. My guess is that she's dragging her feet and exposing him. Yeah, I would like to write Pam Bondi a letter and ask, can you tell me 5 things you worked on last week? Like Elon did to all these federal workers because he was trying to find the emails that nobody's using, the people that don't exist. Yeah, I'm gonna terminate the employment of all these fake people with fake social security numbers today. That's what that was about. It wasn't proving your worth to Elon Musk. But yeah, Pam Bondi. Oh yeah, we're gonna have the Epstein list. They give us a list. It's like it's binders from Kinko's, binders from Office Max in like 1998, 3-ring binders full of nothing. They're like, oh yeah, we're gonna invite independent media in. No, you don't. I've applied 3 different times. I was there in 2016 at the Republican convention in Cleveland. I was there in Milwaukee this last year for the Republican convention. I was at January 6th. I was at Inauguration Day. I've been covering the news for 14 years. You haven't reached back out to me. I've applied multiple times. Carolyn Levitt, press secretary. No, you put the same 20 people that get the same favorable coverage and boost through X and other platforms. You got your Laura Loomers, and actually, who was on that list? I'm not trying to like Bondi gave which influencers the Epstein binders? Oh God, I typed that in Google. Hey, is anyone else? Tell me in the comments, where do you like to go get your news from? And I'll get back to ABC, ESPN, Disney. I really will. And I'll get back to the Dodgers. By the way, where you get your news from, let me show you this. I saw this as news today, and I just want to share it because it's not news. This post claims that Jasmine Crockett says she simply forgot to inform Social Security that her grandmother died in 2012, and she's been collecting $2,600 a month for 13 years. Now, I did a search on that because I saw it this morning. I don't see any confirmation of this. I see this as a story being spread. You got to be careful with where you get your news. You don't want to share stuff like this. And look, here's the beauty of X. There is no credible evidence to support the allegation that Crockett collected her grandmother's benefits for 13 years. A satire source known for fabricating stories created this. That's why what I have asked Elon to do directly, I don't know that he's seen it. I said for satire sites, give them a green box and put like an onion logo over top of it. It's like, this is something that signifies this is satire. This doesn't do anyone's cause any good to share things that are bullshit. So you got to be careful, consumers. But my question was going to be, how do you, that's how I make my images for the thumbnails. I go to Grok. and I type things in. I think I went with this one. No, I went with that one. No, I went with this one. But you have to ask Grok like 20 times to do it. But my question was going to be, do you use Google for your search or do you use something else? That's a question of the day. Type it in the comments, please. What is your main search engine? So I typed in Bondi gave which influencers the Epstein binders. It goes to 6 posts and 15 web pages. The Chaya Raychick, creator of Libs of TikTok, Jack Posobiec, who I was on his show from the Bronx, reporting out there amongst the people. That was an awesome opportunity. I thought that was great. I'd be open to doing that again. They used several of the clips that we created on Bannon's show that night. Shortly before he was jailed, I believe he was jailed and then released. I think that's how that worked. But Liz Wheeler, Rogan O'Hanley, known as DC Drano, Libs of TikTok, Jack Posobiec, Scott. Now I interviewed Scott Pressler as well at the Milwaukee Republican Convention this year. Chad Prather. They said Cernovich got one. Savannah Hernandez, who I've met a couple times, has got one. I interviewed Cernovich. But this is what the Trump White House is saying is independent media. They're giving it to the 10 biggest names in media. That's not how you do this. The 30, 40, 50 biggest names in independent media, they are the mainstream media. All you're doing is giving the mainstream media their mouthpiece again, the megaphone again. You're giving them all the perks. You said you were going to go to independent media. That means spin the wheel of someone not on the top 100 list. What good? This isn't about any one of the people on that list or them in general. Like I know several of these people, or at least I've crossed paths with them. But you're going through like that's ABC, that's CBS, that's Fox, that's like these are the mainstream media now. Like nobody watches those dinosaur lying legacy media outlets. Point being, I just wish that Carolyn Levitt would actually bring independent media in. Bella's Chan saying their main search engine is Brave. Okay, Brave. What else? Robin saying another for all the time Bondi was Florida. I'm reading flag. I'm like, what about the flag? Flag. Oh, Florida Attorney General. She never chased any of the pedos. Something about her just doesn't sit well with me. Yeah. Hey, look at that. Kenneth gets his news from Mike Barrett and Brian Engelman. Yeah, buddy. I will be booking another show with Mike Barra soon. You may know him from Coast to Coast AM or Ancient Aliens or any of the alien conventions that he goes to. We started a podcast last year called Strictly Football. Did 23 weeks of shows. And then we need to have another show immediately prior to the draft. I just wanted the free agency to kind of settle down now that it sort of has. We should do a catch-up show, then a draft show, and then probably a preseason football show and ramp it up again next year. But and I've been a guest on his show for Toxically Masculine Tuesday several times. I'm like the utility infielder. If any of the guys, the regular cast of characters is out of town or indisposed, he'll hit me up and go, yo, you want to be on the thing? Or he'll text. I'll say, yeah, all right, cool. Let's unpack it. But yeah, Mike Barra and myself, look, I think there's a lot of us that have fantastic batting averages, a nose for the news, and a track record to prove it. Bella's Chance, all your news comes from online sources. Now, online, are you scrolling TikTok? Do you have a collated list on X? Are you on, remember Drudge Report before they went weird? I used to go with Drudge Report. I don't really use websites. I just use apps, and that's how I come up with my news mainly. Okay, Kenneth uses Bing to search. The point I was getting at, I'm in the middle of 7 points, and I will get back to ESPN, ABC, Disney, and Shohei Ohtani and the Dodgers, by the way, is that I like searching on X with Grok, the artificial intelligence. When I try to quickly get an answer to a question, they do a pretty good job of getting me the answer to that question pretty quickly. Whereas Google, they will direct you and they will try to assume that your query means that you're malleable, you're teachable, you're warpable. They want to deliver you the deep state impression of what the news should be. We want to give you our spin on what's going on. No, I just want to know what's going on. I can figure out my spin pretty quickly based on the cast of characters involved. If it's the usual suspects, the Pelosi's, the Schumers, the Obamas, the Clintons, the Cheneys, it's pretty obvious which team these people play for. But also, I just try to take every event as a unique, singular event. I don't believe anything because anybody tells me, but I found that it's a lot easier to get good search results back by using Grok. So I was curious how the rest of you felt. Anyway, my whole point here with Pam Bondi and the Epstein files, 15 right-wing influencers, at least I didn't say far right. I never say the term far right. I will never cede that like there's anything crazy about them because far means crazy. Oh my gosh, I didn't have my light on this time. This is the second time. There, that's better. I get pretty good results. And the problem with Bondi, good results from Grok. Moving on. The problem with Bondi, it's Cernovich, Posobiec, DC Drano, Laura Loomer. She was there, right? I don't see her listed. It's weird that they wouldn't list her. But I get pretty good results, and I recommend it for what it's worth. All right, Brave is a search engine. Bella's chance, man. I love this. You guys are good regulars. Were you listening, Bella? When I'm calling you Bella. What is your name? I mean, you can go by Bella. I'm like, I love that my yellow "Don't Tread on Me" mug has become synonymous with the program. I do distinctly remember using that mug for several days, rinsing it and whatever, and using it for several days in a row, going, I feel like I've used this mug a lot. Let me go to the rotation because I got a lot of cool coffee cups. I'm an Ohio kid. So this is my Ohio mug here, my Starbucks Ohio mug. Anyway, I'll get back to it. I'll bring the "Don't Tread on Me" mug, or I have another blue one that's pretty cool too. Yes, Grok rocks. David saying some older people may watch mainstream media, but I think they don't believe what they see. Hey man, I know several people who, and I've begged family members, like, can you please disable cable for these people? If we disabled cable, at least MSNBC and CNN, the mental health of some of these people would improve dramatically. Some people really do wake up and think they're getting the news. I used to think I was getting the news. I haven't thought that way. I can't remember how long it's been. But to a certain degree, I always sort of trusted the news. And then at least 14 years ago, when I started the New American Media, I'm like, I'm done with these people. I get what they're doing now. I've always known about the manipulation and the censorship. And I've always known that Republicans and conservatives and libertarians never really got fair coverage. Ever. Never, ever. The people who I consider to be normal people, pushing common sense stuff, I felt like they never got fair treatment in the media. But I didn't quite fully understand and comprehend and appreciate the levels to which it was all propaganda, that it was all manipulated and it was lies and it was all driving the same agenda, two wings of the same dirty bird. keeping us distracted while they loot and pillage our country, steal our rights. Mainstreamers, I call them, says Kenneth. But no, the reason I say ABC, ESPN, Disney hate you, it's because they do. They don't like you. They don't like me. They don't like people looking at the news and trying to have an open conversation about what it is, trying to unpack it together, figure things out. I just led with the story. I gave you a story a couple moments ago about Jasmine Crockett collecting her grandmother's Social Security checks for whatever it was, 12 years or something. I saw that this morning. It didn't strike me as accurate. And so we unpacked it. And I'm telling you, don't share stuff like that. If it seems a little off, like every major headline would be about this today, if that were true. If things feel a little off, do a search of your own, whether it's the sites that you all referenced, Brave, YouTube, Rumble, or X. That's what David said. Bing, whatever. We have to be careful. And nobody's perfect, but we need to be aware of the things that we're consuming and the validity of them. And I feel like ABC, ESPN, Disney has been one of the worst abusers of this. And they've been pushing this just hateful, divisive rhetoric that is part of the Obama doctrine. They are, along with Jimmy Kimmel, all of the woke Disney stuff, all of the Caitlyn Jenner stuff with the ESPN ESPY Awards, and the Obama doctrine has been pushed so heavily through ABC, ESPN, and Disney. It's impossible to ignore it. It's impossible to unscramble the eggs. Those brands have so proven to you that they don't want your money. There is no fixing it. And yes, you've already seen a few months of Trump, and a lot of companies have backed away. They're like, man, I didn't want to have anything to do with that woke bullshit either. I was just being bullied and threatened. Yeah, no shit, asshole. All the rest of us were being bullied. All the rest of us were being threatened. All the rest of us were suffering the ramifications of the racist DEI stuff, of the misandrist anti-man DEI stuff. All of it. But you wouldn't stand up. And now you're an ally of common sense and normalcy. Normalcy. Normality. Would you like some iced tea? No, I'd like some normal tea. Yeah, we could have really used a little bit of support from some people up in these organizations when Obama was running roughshod through things for 12 of the last 16 years. We could have really appreciated some common sense and maybe an ally. No, but your allies were pushing all of your Obama doctrine era bullshit upon us. Divisive. And now you're hearing Obama trying to push about these 50 state protests. Oh, there's so many organic protests everywhere. Hold on, let me take a look at my sign. What is my sign? What does that mean? Let me look at what that sign means. Tell me what that sign means. Hand me that paper. The sign means that something, democracy, something norms, something chaos, something Trump, something. These people don't know what they're doing. Not every one of them, but the professional agitator class. And I've been out there in these mobs of people a lot over the past 14 years, whether it's Bundy Ranch, January 6th, 4 different political conventions, the Bronx for that Trump speech. Like, we've been everywhere. There is a professional protester class of people, heavily financed, all of the buses, all of the signs. It's very cool. It's like Scott Adams says, it's like theater. They're the theater kids. They're putting on a production, and it's magnified through CNN and MSNBC. Like, oh my gosh, look at it's essentially what it is. It's a color revolution. They give you a Hollywood stylized version of a color revolution. Look, everybody's out in the streets and they're against the people's president. Yeah, like they did with Bolsonaro, like they did with Marine Le Pen, like they did with Bukele, Like they just do it everywhere. They don't like leaders of the countries to care about the citizens of that country. They want to be able to plunder all of the wealth humanly possible without killing the goose that lays the golden egg. That's what they want. So when someone comes in and goes, nope, you ain't stealing from us anymore, they get big mad. Not Big Mike, they get big mad. Big mad. And that's what you're seeing. You're seeing this revolt against the people who are trying to cut off their oxygen supply, thrashing about, gasping for one more breath here, but the jig is up. But that's what I was saying earlier about being so frustrated with Pam Bondi and Dan Bongino and Kash Patel and Tulsi Gabbard and everybody and Trump and the generals. Like, what are we waiting for? Dan Bongino went so far yesterday. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll scroll through it when I get to the X feed. But by the way, however you're watching, hit like, hit subscribe, please. But even Bongino, I read it yesterday. I don't know when it came out, but he was just kind of urging caution. He's in patience. He's like, guys, I get it. I get it. I'm see if I have a Dan Bongino impression. I feel like that, saying, guys, I get it. I feel like that's something he says a lot. But he's just saying, look, we're working on things. I have a lot. I can't get it to you this exact second, but we got it. Like it's just hang on a second. Just because we can't tell you everything we're doing doesn't mean we're not doing the things you need us to be doing. And they really are working through the identification of as many traitors as possible playlist. That's what they're doing. They're working through that. I can understand that and respect that to a certain degree. But my God, you know, the counter to this, the refrain I would hear is, well, look, they get one chance to do this. They got to do it right. No, they don't. Just get started. Go. What did Andrew Breitbart say that one time? War. His eyes light up and he says, war. The deep state has declared a war on us. Years and years, decades of this shit. We just want to live our lives and be left alone. I don't want to put words in your mouth. Bella's Chance, David Bann, Kenneth B2. Like, you guys, like, is it fair to say that we just want to be left alone? We want a small government that can't bother us too much. We want to get some basics, but we don't want to be taxed into oblivion. We don't want to be a slave to somebody and sign away our freedoms and liberties. We just want to be left alone. But they, the Obama doctrine people, definitely since Obama, I mean, go back to 9/11. Come on. Nothing has been the same since those towers came crashing down. Went out there for that, by the way. I try to go where things are happening. I want to see. I want to feel. I got my shoes shine from a dude. He's like, I had my black Doc Martens on. I'm like, I've never had a shoe shine before, and I love these Doc Martens. Man, I wore them out. I'm like, I'm gonna get a shoe shine. And the guy's like, yeah, man, this has been my office for 32 years. I've been coming here, or whatever, however many years. He's like, yeah, man, this corner every day. He goes, you see that up there? And he points down the street, huge buildings everywhere. And you're looking down the straight street. I'm like, yep. I go, what about it? He goes, that's it, man. That's where they were. They were right there. That was the view I had every day from this corner for the past 23 years, man. I've been shining shoes and I'd always come in and look at those. And I haven't been able to do that lately. It's so weird. You know, and I just hearing that story was powerful for me because the entire thing felt like a Die Hard movie. I'm not saying that I believed it was Project Bluebeam, where they could fake an alien invasion or the return of any prophet, Jesus Christ himself, or, King of Kings, Jesus Christ, maybe. And then you fake it. You fake a return of the Messiah. And then now you're manipulating all the religious masses. They're like, I saw the thing. I've been touched by the Spirit of God. I have to go do this thing. Oh, and that could definitely happen in Islam. That could definitely happen in Judaism. That could definitely happen. And fill in the name of every religion here, please. I'm not saying that what I watched on TV when those planes hit. Where's the video of the plane hitting the Pentagon, by the way? Wasn't that a day or two after Donald Rumsfeld said he couldn't find $1 trillion? $2 trillion? How much was it? Back when $1 trillion or $2 trillion was a big deal. Remember that? Now we're at 36 trillion. And they're adding another $1 trillion of interest every single 100 days, 90 days, 80 days. I'm not saying that what I thought I watched on Fox, because that was the cable channel I'd be watching at the time before I mainly left Fox for good. And they do have some of the best talent, some of the best producers, some of the best writers, some of the best production, hands down. But when they had Chris Wallace out there repeating the fine people hoax in the 2020 debates, oh, they lost me for good. It's one thing for Megyn Kelly to do an I gotcha. Pigs and losers. Just Rosie O'Donnell. Just Rosie O'Donnell. They said, sir, don't be mean to the big one. I said she was mean first. I'm not saying that what I watched on TV was fake, that it was Project Bluebeam. Although, if you watch the Pentagon tape, where's the fucking plane? Was there a plane? Has anyone? That was 24 years ago, 23, whatever, in a few months. I have never watched a video of a plane crashing into the Pentagon. Are you trying to tell me, just like LeBron James' home in Los Angeles that was allegedly graffitied in a racist, horrible manner during the NBA Finals, or close to the NBA Finals, something like that, against the Golden State Warriors? You're telling me there's no cameras on the premises of the Pentagon? You're telling me you have no video of a plane crashing into the Pentagon? You're telling me, LeBron James, that there was a hate crime, somebody spray painted some stuff, just like Bubba Wallace, Juicy Smollett, the Obama doctrine. Hey, let's gin up a whole bunch of racial division any chance we get, every chance we get. If I had a kid, he would look like Trayvon. And I told Michelle, I said, if you could have a kid, maybe we could have had a kid, but biology. Was that mean? I'm not saying that Barack Hussein Obama's significant other is Michael. I'm not saying that. I'm having fun with the fact that other people are saying that. And there's that video dancing on Ellen. That was Project Bluebeam, people. There you go. What you thought you saw on Ellen with Michelle Obama swinging a shalongadong, that was Project Bluebeam. That was not real. Not real. That was fake shalongage swinging during the dance with those flowing white pants. You see the image. You can see that was Project Bluebeam. Similar to how, a plane hit the Pentagon. Here you go. Watch a thing. Zip, boom. That wasn't a plane. What are you showing me? Remember when 2 planes took down 3 buildings? Totally normal. And at the Conscious Life Expo, I've gone to some of the seminars from the architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth. That's an issue you've never really been able to talk about, has it been? And that's why the New American Media exists, because we cover these stories. Michael Hastings, what happened to him? Seth Rich, what happened to him? The Anthony Weiner laptop, what's that all about? We go down the rabbit holes because these are the stories that we need to be talking about. Meanwhile, Pam Bondi gives you a binder of the Epstein. Here's the Epstein files. Gotcha, bitch. Gotcha, bitch. Nope. Wah. You know, I think I do that fairly well. Maybe that should be in my bag of tricks. Maybe on a resume I should put any other interesting skills or what do they call that when you put it in a resume for like acting? Like special talents, I think. Special talents. I think I can make the wah 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 wah. I think I make that noise pretty good. Okay. I said I want to be. Come on, don't we all want to be left alone? Kenneth said, I just want to be given alone. Nice. Yeah, the Pentagon became Pentagon. Come on, David Band being left alone. How great would that be? Project Bluebeam, Project Mainstream. Yeah, the Rachel division. Wait, are we talking about Rachel from Friends? Because now she's on ABC. Well, who's she with? Wasn't it Jimmy Fallon pushing this conspiracy theory that Obama's having an affair with Jennifer Aniston? Sure they are. I don't think they play for the same team. Sure they are. At first I was like, oh, maybe that's why Michelle's so angry and their chef is dead. He's having an affair. And then I go, oh shit, they're doing this skit. They're acting out this play on ABC. Oh no, you can't believe any of that crap. So that's an operation. And he's not into her. Is that what you mean by the Rachel division? Bella's Chance is saying that significant. I'm saying the significant other is Michael. You can say that. What a fascinating theory. And by the way, I have a story in the stack today about the Tennessee trans manifesto that Biden and Mayorkas and all those clowns, those deep state traitors were hiding from you. Oh, it's worse than you thought. And we still don't have all of it yet. There's been an entire radicalized gender dysphoria army on top of the 30 million illegal alien invaders who've been prepositioned across this country, perhaps to activate as soon as they're needed by Obama and Biden. What you're seeing happen across the country, think Summer of Love. They're going to do it again. Their words have failed. They have not the consent of the governed. They got a confused group of people. They have a purchased group of people. They have an ideologically rabid group of people. They have some lost and misguided people. They have generally well-intentioned people who are mixed up in all of that chaos. And I don't know what percentage of these people are genuinely well-intentioned versus people who know exactly what role they're playing. They know exactly how they're lying to people, how they're manipulating people, the crimes they're participating in, the lengths that they'll go to. So yeah, there's a lot going on. But Project Bluebeam, I went to New York because I wanted it to feel real. It didn't. It felt like I was watching a Die Hard movie. That's the way I've described it ever since it happened. Like something on a grand scale, and you could see him jumping out of it didn't seem real. And I think the moment it did was when that shoe shiner. Look, if the deep state's going to send me a 67-year-old elderly black gentleman shoe shiner who claims to have worked on that block for 23 years, and that was his view every day, right up there. Those were the towers. I'd come in, I'd say, hello, how you doing? He had a whole, I don't remember exactly, but it was something like, I'd show up every day. Hello, gentlemen. How are you both doing today? He had like a whole thing, like he would talk to the two buildings, the inanimate objects, as if they were entities. Having a joke, having a good morning, gentlemen. Or hello, ladies. I don't recall exactly how, but he said, I would come in, I'd say, hey, how are you doing? Now that's a pretty elaborate. I know this could all be a video game simulation, and I'm having fun with this, but um, I don't think that was all created just to guide me on a character plot to obscure the fact that the official story I was getting was bullshit. And two planes don't take down 3 buildings. Jet fuel doesn't melt steel beams. Do they fall right down on their same? There's a million questions, and we've never received a satisfactory answer to any of this stuff. Oh, here's Muhammad Atta's passport. Found it. Found it? You imploded 3 buildings. You don't find that. Found it right here. It's pretty good shape, actually. Whew. Okay. So that's your Project Bluebeam. Because there are theories that what you're watching on those TV channels, that was just a missile. I'm not saying I believe that. Why would I say I believe anything at this point? I know what feels accurate. By the way, go to cisa.gov/rumor control. I'll put that at the bottom of the screen for you. You know, they want countervailing views to any bizarre thought patterns. Anything that we don't specifically approve of, we need to make sure you get some countervailing views. Yeah, are you putting countervailing views on the propaganda that you're force feeding down my throat at MSNBC and CNN? Well, then maybe you should shut the fuck up. But we don't live in that world. We live in this one. We're under duress. I have to put this little countervailing views thing under there. But the point is, I question everything, even the existence of God. Remember where that quote is from? Even the existence of God. It didn't understand that? Hold on, that's a very famous quote. Okay, Grok. It was our founding fathers. From memory, for if he exists, he would surely prefer that I use reason than blindfolded fear. Grok is not appreciating that I use the word God. Let's see what Grok is going to say. Come on, Grok. I was just talking you up earlier. Blindfolded fear. No, not Kierkegaard. Now, hold on. Beck used this quote often. By the way, Beck was a good one on Fox. All right, hold on. I thought it was Thomas Jefferson. All right, are we here? Yeah, question with boldness even the existence of God. Because if there be one, he must more approve of the homage of reason than that of blindfolded fear. Didn't I type that? Oh, I guess I did combine God, blindfolded fear. Question with boldness even the existence of a God. Because if there be one, he must more approve of the homage of reason than that of blindfolded fear. Encapsulating Jefferson's belief in the importance of reason over blind faith, suggesting that if a God exists, that deity would value honest inquiry and rational thought more than unquestioning obedience driven by fear. That is what the Democrat Party has become, everybody. The Democrat Party has become a cult. Let me get this really big here. Jefferson saying that unquestioned obedience driven by fear would be less preferable, that if God existed, that deity would value honest inquiry and rational thought. Whereas the Democrat Party, led by Barack Hussein Obama, is about unquestioning obedience driven by fear. And he stokes racial fear into the hearts and minds of every single person unfortunate enough to hear the bullshit spewing like diarrhea out of that dude's mouth. If you don't know who Barack Hussein Obama is at this point, I don't know what to tell you. But if you can find a ringleader more ringleadery than that guy, I have yet to see him. You know about the George Soros boogeyman. I get it. But George Soros wasn't even the money guy. Yes, he's super wealthy. Yes, he's contributed. They were looting it through U.S. aid. They were money laundering it from the taxpayers to turn around and say, hey, you know who's the real threat in this country? It's white men. It's militia members. It's constitutionalists. It's libertarians. It's Second Amendment supporters. You know, the people that will defend this country against people like you, the treasonous traitor who's trying to overthrow us in a coup, the same coup you used allegedly in 2020. Oh no, countervailing views at the bottom, cisa.gov/rumor control. No, I'm not talking about that. Blink 3 times if you're under duress. I'm talking about the Kamala Harris coup. That was a coup. Obama staged a coup to throw Joe Biden out. He thought his next puppet, because that was the third Barack Hussein Obama term that we witnessed with Biden. You're like, I've never seen a president worse than Biden. You're giving him the credit. Obama had his hand up the backside. Biden was the puppet. Biden was the puppet muppet. Obama, maybe for the first time ever, went right up the backside of this man. Perhaps for the first time ever. And was using Joe Biden as a puppet for the third and most honest Barack Hussein Obama presidential term. They tried to off Trump. They couldn't get rid of him. They tried to lawfare him. They couldn't beat him. They knew that. They didn't beat him in 2020, allegedly, say those weirdos. CISA.gov/rumor control. Because there's weirdos out there that don't believe that Joe Biden got 81 million totally legitimate votes. Sure he did. Wink. I said wink. He's been the puppet master. And he peddles harmful racial division as the community agitator they grew up to be, in the vein of Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson, shaking people down, threatening and blackmailing and cajoling corporations to bow to their will, to seize power and control. And you know what? These MFers, they acted like they were in charge. They did have the temporary levers of power for a little bit. And the people who have seen behind the mask of who Joe Biden, Barack Obama, who they really are, oh, we're pissed. But now we see what they're really about and what they've always been about. And they do push blindfolded fear. You know, that was a progressive opinion of Thomas Jefferson to have at the time, reflecting the Enlightenment era values. Many of his contemporaries held more orthodox Christian views. But yeah, this is from a letter to Peter Carr on August 10th, 1787. I mean, that was a lot of years ago, people. But it's pertinent today. Pertinent today. But yeah, I don't like ABC, ESPN, Disney because they don't like you. And you should be wary of anything that they put out. So I'm very curious where this article is going to go. Are they going to try to say something derogatory about President Trump? Oh, I'm guessing perhaps they will. Okay, let's buzz through your comments real quick. Kenneth said it was plain to see. Yes. Kenneth has a talent of making people roll their eyes and walking away. Yeah, that's good. Chef, boy, he did. Ah, too soon. Too soon. Bella's Chance says, the first time I ever saw the Obama spouse on TV, I thought, what an oddly large, unattractive woman. Well, you know, we're all allowed preferences. Are we living in the Matrix? Are we living in a video game? Are we living in a Barbie world? David says, we're in the Matrix. Yeah, video game, Matrix, same difference. We all know so much of these problems have been done by the deep state. And the deep state's out of power at the moment. This is the one chance we have, people. I have dedicated my life to delivering the news, trying to unpack what's going on. And, in one way, we've been doing this show today for a while, and I haven't covered a single story. Yes, I talked about Florida winning for a couple minutes of this Dodgers thing, but then I got off that. So in one way, during like 90% of today's show, I haven't covered a single news story, but I've talked about 100 different news stories, connecting them together. Little anecdotes of shoe shiners, my black Doc Marten boots, best they ever looked. Something sexy about a pair of Doc Martens, like a nice, sturdy pair of Doc Martens. We've talked about a ton of stories because they're all connected. And when you say, David, we all know it was done by the deep state. Yeah, we're connecting a lot of dots here. A dot printer, a matrix. Isn't that called a matrix dot printer? Wasn't that the old thing? All right, Kenneth, I won't mock Grok. Yeah, 9/11, they could control any point of operations. Kenneth wondering if they should be charged with 10,000 crimes or if convicted. There is a penalty for treason. All right, let's get to the Dodgers story, folks. I got a lot to talk about today. Ohtani, Betts, and Dodgers visit President Trump at the White House, congratulating them on winning the World Series. Trump complimented the very talented people who beat the New York Yankees in 5 games, and the Indians almost beat the Yankees. The Cleveland Guardians. I can't say that name happily. It steals so much of my joy to not have my baseball team, to have to call them the Guardians. I don't like saying it, because that's me giving in. That's me saying that them whitewashing our team's awesome history by breaking the Native American barrier in sports should be whitewashed away. I think it was on this day that player Frank Robinson became the first black coach in the American League after the Cleveland Indians, for the Cleveland Indians. It's after 1948. Was it 48? I have to check what year. Larry Doby became the first black player in the American League. The Cleveland Indians were a very progressive organization. We didn't need to delete Chief Wahoo and change our team name. And I'd like it back. I really don't want to have this feeling every time I talk baseball, but it happens every time I talk baseball. I mean, if there was a reason for me to do a sports show, and it was like, all right, well, make your point on this, but like, can we not keep having this conversation every time we talk about the team? Because we're just trying to talk about the team and it's taking us away. Like, well, but it's what's on my mind every time I'm talking about the team. Because it was a scalp that the woke mob was able to take, and they took it from Cleveland. They took it from me. I'd like it back. Yeah, I'm not using the term scalp unironically with the Cleveland Indians. To be continued, Kenneth. Appreciate you, sir. But yeah, the Cleveland Indians almost, we took the Yankees as far as we could take them. And the Dodgers beat the Yankees. So we got close, but couldn't get it done last year. So Mookie Betts, he was the one that they were kind of hanging on. Like, would you really want to go see the president? Don't you dislike him? You could hear him kind of priming themselves for that story yesterday. Betts didn't make the team's trip to the White House the next year during Trump's first term. Ohtani became the first baseball 50 home run, 50 stolen base player. I'm skimming through this here. Talked briefly about Steinbrenner. Clayton Kershaw gave brief remarks and presented Trump with a Dodgers jersey with the number 47 on the back. Trump might have tipped his hand that he was expecting the Dodgers, who were 9-2 going into Monday night's game, to repeat at World Series champ. I can tell you that you can plan on being back here. I hope you can be back here next year. NHL's reigning champion Florida Panthers were the first team to visit Trump in his second term, honored during a ceremony. And the White House said that the Eagles accepted their invitation for April 28th. And I know that the Ohio State Buckeyes accepted the offer. I don't know when that is, though. So anyway, just in the world of sports, there was some stuff going on. So I felt like let's do it a little different. Let's talk about some sports and let's just have a good chat. I really did enjoy that conversation with you guys. That was a good intro. Let's jump into the stuff I want to show you. All right. This is Bill Maher, people. Bill Maher. With I don't know, do you call this a red pill moment for Bill Maher? Let's take a look. Play, please.
But just to give you an example, why people are skeptical. You know, fluoride, I've been hearing about it my whole life. And I don't really know that much about it, but I was reading the New York Times one day and they had an article about how Bobby Kennedy, as they do almost every day, is a maniac because he doesn't think about that fluoride, you know, he's skeptical about fluoride. That was like on the op-ed page. In the same day, in the same paper, there was an article, high fluoride exposure is linked to lower IQ in children. You didn't even read your own paper. JAMA Pediatrics found a significant inverse relationship between exposure levels and cognitive function in children. I'm not saying fluoride's the worst thing in the world. I'm just saying for people who go, fluoride, woohoo! Apparently not. But just to give you an example, why people are skeptical. You know, fluoride, I've been hearing about it my whole life. And I don't really know that much about it, but I was...
Where do you stand on fluoride? You guys have opinions on fluoride? I mean, I've taken it out of my toothpaste. What do I need it for? I have a filter, supposed to take that crap out. What, for what purpose would I need that shit? Huh? I don't know. I'm waiting to hear a good reason. All right, Bella's chance. Does that mean, are you a Bostonian by chance? Bella's chance. Mookie gained fame with my beloved Red Sox. Yeah, and that is part of the story because he didn't go see Trump the first time. But he did this time, and that's good. The nation is healing. We're finally getting past this Obama doctrine bullshit. Just so much anger and lies, hatred, fake AstroTurf racial division. It's been awful. It has been awful. So unnecessarily awful because of that guy. You know, we should be having conversations like this. Question with boldness, even the existence of God, for if he exists, he would surely prefer reason than that of blindfolded faith. Approve of the homage of reason than that of blindfolded fear. Did I say blindfolded faith? I meant blindfolded fear. We should question with boldness. Do we need fluoride? Yes or no? Actually, that's a good question of the day. In the comments, thoughts on fluoride. Are you pro-fluoride? Do you go to great lengths to get fluoride out of your life? There you go. Bella's a few miles up from the Cape. What is that, Cape Cod? That's not Massachusetts anymore, is it? No, it's, yeah, it is. Or there's a lot of area in a lot of, hold on. There's a lot of places in a short geographical area in that whole New England, tiny little Rhode Island and Boston, and there's, but anyway, let's put this on the screen. These are the places you can follow the New American Media, by the way. And I encourage you to jump off of, I know I get a lot of you watch on YouTube, which is great, but please start a Rumble account. Please subscribe to our Rumble channel and get an X account if you don't have one. and follow us at American_media_, because you can see our live shows on those two platforms. We're monetized on Rumble. We're not on YouTube. YouTube is flagging and censoring and banning and demonetizing and restricting our account. We were banned. We couldn't upload any content for a week. So I don't ever want to lose the audience. You can find me on Rumble. Please come over to Rumble. If you let the advertisement play on Rumble for the show, it's like tossing a penny in the wishing well. So like I see there's little icons. I can see David and Bella and Kenneth. You're all on YouTube, but YouTube can easily send me down the memory hole. David says, I think they should get fluoride out of our drinking water. Bella's Chance, what's your take on fluoride? Everybody, really? Tell me about fluoride. But it's good that Bill Maher is having this conversation. This is what we're supposed to be discussing, not the fake Colin Kaepernick crap. Oh, see, it's so bad. They hate him because he's half white and half black. Are you kidding me? What a disingenuous argument that was from the beginning. And what a terrible thing to try to force me to acquiesce common sense and logic and knowledge to go along with your fever-dreamed racist fantasy that Colin Kaepernick couldn't find work because he's a black man, because he took a knee, because reasons that he couldn't quite define. Yeah, he was benched for Blaine Gabbert. He was not good. But the media pushed that narrative through Nike, through ESPN, ABC, ESPN, Disney. ESPN pushed that racist drivel at you. And they used it for one of the 1,000 things to hammer over our heads. I don't want to talk about fake issues. No, I did it because of abuse. They were completely mischaracterizing all of the relevant data to push a fake, one-sided narrative to divide America. The Obama doctrine. I don't want to talk about fake stories. Now, that's not to say that police abuse is not true. But tell me, where was the same outrage? Where was the outrage when the white guy, Kelly Thomas, was beaten to a pulp by, I believe it was officers Ramos and Campione? If their name's incorrect, please forgive me. Actually, I'm going to look it up because I do say it all the time. Kelly Thomas killing. Who were the cops? I think it's Ramos and Campione, but I think I might have conflated that with a different story. If I'm going to mention the names of these two killer cops, I did get it wrong. I don't know who Campione. I don't know where I'm getting that for. That like blurred over to me from another story. It was, there we go. Manuel Ramos and Jay Ciccinelli. First officers on the scene, Joseph Wolf. Anyway, the point is, where was the same outrage when you watched that man get beaten by cops who put on latex gloves to proceed to pummel him to death as he called out, this schizophrenic calling out, and he wasn't being violent to these people. He was sitting on a curb, and they just came and killed him. And it was on camera, and it was on audio. And he's calling out for his dad. And you could see the pile of blood just start spilling and expanding until the whelps and the cries got slower and fewer between and then silent. No outrage there. It didn't fit a particular narrative that the Obama doctrine people want to push on you. And that is so destructive for our nation. There's plenty of bad cops, and we need to focus on good policing. Some libertarians would say no, there are no good police. Okay, I mean, I get it, what you're saying, but like, come on, man. If someone is trying to abuse us, we would ask for a little bit of help with some bad guys to help so I don't have to go military. It's a little better for society when you can outsource some of these big issue problems. But yeah, a very limited, very accountable team of police officers with body cameras that you cannot turn off ever. That protects the citizens and that protects the officers. But I don't want our nightly shows, and I don't want the evening news, and I don't want shows like this or Bill Maher's show to waste their time on these other stories that are being ginned up to cause artificially inflated racial division for a power grab, to get the other side to be scared into silence and compliance. It's been a bully tactic of theirs for a long time. I want Bill Maher to talk about fluoride. That's what I'm getting at. I want Bill Maher to talk about fluoride. And I want us to talk about fluoride and Project Bluebeam and 9/11. Because adults are supposed to have adult conversations about every single topic under the sun. There's nothing taboo with me. The only thing taboo is consuming bullshit and spitting it back out. I'm just trying to find out what's going on. Good, bad, indifferent. I just want to know what the reality is. And when all you get is panic porn, nonstop panic porn from CNN and MSNBC, the Democrats, that's all they do. That's how they keep the traumatized people in their haze. And I'm calling on Bobby Kennedy for Health and Human Services to put some real energy and investment behind helping people recover from Trump derangement syndrome and call it a literal medical condition and say that the deep state took over the media with Obama and the Smith-Mundt Act. They've weaponized CNN and MSNBC to work as propaganda arms for the Democrat Party and tell people that the stuff you've consumed is completely one-sided, warped, and disingenuous. Also, they could keep power and control, and they have been steering you incorrect on just facts and reality. You can have a preference on whoever you want to vote for, but they haven't been telling you the truth. They're pushing the fine people hoax. They're pushing lie after lie at you. And it is a serious medical condition that I think we need to identify and help people.
Well, the commercial break happened, and now the Dow is in a little bit of a positive territory. So a little bit of volatility.
Hey, look at that. The Dow's in a better spot. Where's the Dow today? How are we doing today? Hey, the Dow's up today, 281 at the moment. Oh my gosh, panic, panic, panic. How about we don't panic? Because they ignored when the Dow went down for Joe Biden, but they have selective outrage, and you don't hate the lying legacy media enough.
As people price in some of the discussions this morning, as the White House says over 50 countries have contacted the White House looking to negotiate or at least discuss tariffs, and then the president had. Well, the commercial break happened, and now the Dow is in a little bit of a positive territory.
We posted here. Welcome back, Dow. Don't freak out so much next time. Lynn Patton posted a whole bunch of things. Majority of Americans support tariffs. Under Biden, your stocks lost 50% of their value. What? They gained back 25% yesterday with a quick dip. I don't know if that one makes sense. Under Biden. Let's go to the, where'd it go? The Dow. Under Biden. So that would be 5 years? I mean, I don't know. If Biden was here, I mean, where did he leave in 20? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't get that post. But the Dow has bounced back. And yes, guys, please understand this. What you're witnessing with these tariffs, it's a lot of recalibration right now. This phase of the tariffs is to get the tariffs off of our goods. It was to say, don't test me. I mean it. When I say things, I mean these things. Oh no, maybe you won't deal with it immediately this second, but I'm never going to say it if I don't mean it. And the only way that you can prove that you mean it is to go through with it. So, hey, Dow Jones, don't freak out next time. It's all part of the negotiation process. You've already seen country after country say, all right, we're gonna open up. Hang on, we can work something out. Hold on. No, we will do exactly as you're asking. We don't need to do that. You've seen it. You've seen it. Let it work. Don't freak out. This is how you negotiate. Oh my gosh, Trump is chaos. You know what's chaos? 36 trillion in debt. You know what's chaos? A destruction of the middle class in this country. You know what's chaos? Stupid hyperinflation because you've devalued our damn currency. That's chaos. You're supposed to be able to have a 2-person household with kids. One person goes to work, and the money you earn is plenty to cover all of your expenses and plenty to retire on. That's what the American dream is supposed to be. And you know how far away from that we are right now? So you know what's chaos? Status quo. You know what's chaos? Spending out of control. You know what's chaos is more of the same bullshit that got us into this position in the first place. That's chaos. I'll take Trump tariffs any day of the week. The Dow Jones freaked out. Okay, buy the dip. By the way, not financial advice. Don't ever take financial advice from me. I have to say that. That's a thing that everyone has to say so they don't get sued or something because we're not adults and we can't make our own decisions. We can't research fluoride or 9/11 or anything or financial advice. I feel like I'm living inside of a cuckoo clock. I have to put countervailing views for opinions. And the UK, every day I share a story of someone going to jail for something they typed, for something they said, for having the wrong opinion. And make no mistake about it, they're trying to do that here in America. This is the first chance we've had to push the Overton window back 80 yards. They were on the 1-yard line ready to score. We have got to have a kickoff, and it needs to be a 75-yard kickoff. We have got to adjust this 10-yard reference point on a 100-yard field. They want to do to us what they've done to these other countries. Disarmed, abused, threatened, jailed, silenced. Because it is happening here. It was happening under the direction of Barack Hussein Obama and his people and Joe Biden, the deep state, the Democrats, weaponizing all of the government agencies against the good people who love this country and just want to be left alone. We have a right to be left alone. And how dare you get inside of our day and take away precious time from our friends, our family, our loved ones? You don't have that right. You're temporarily holding an office to do the bare minimum. Take the least from us. Give us the most. That's it. Instead, we got, hundreds of thousands dying in multiple foreign wars and 36 trillion on a credit card. So, anyway. Okay, yeah. So take the fluoride out. Bella's chance. You heard it promotes things, as you've heard. Who knows? Countervailing views. CDC.gov, WHO.int. Get your countervailing view. Get your views here. Get your countervailing views here. CDC website. WHO website. We're talking about fluoride. Ding. David, you said they are shadow banning me badly. How do you mean, good sir? How do you mean that they are shadow banning me badly? You're right, but I'm curious for what reason you say that. By the way, here's Marine Le Pen. Remember this? They just convicted her. They want to throw her in a cage, or maybe they could Epstein her. She doesn't take a knee. She doesn't bow. She doesn't acquiesce. She stands for France, and take a look at this. By the way, they call her far right. You never use the term far right. That's ceding the language. I consider the Democrats and the globalists to be far left. Nobody uses the term far left. So if you're not going to use the term far left for this radical ideology you're going to push on us every day, I'm not going to ever use the term far right, because there's nothing further off of center than y'all. Anyway, they call her the French right presidential candidate, Marine Le Pen in Lebanon. This was from a while ago. I don't know exactly. I remember watching this a while back. She went to meet with the country's Grand Mufti, but refused to wear a headscarf. One of his aides offered her a scarf. Le Pen chose instead of meeting.
Vous transmettrez au Grand Mufti
You can pass on to the Grand Mufti
ma considération, mais je ne me voilerai pas.
I'm not
Merci.
Allez.
You know, they always want you to wear a hat, wear a scarf, kiss a wall, just whatever. You need to acquiesce. Or do you? You know how degrading it is to cover up your face like there's something wrong? No thanks. You guys can do what you guys want to do, but that's inhuman to me. Not playing that game. No thanks. Good for her. I like this Marine Le Pen. I hope she's able to fix France. I mean, I'm not going to hold my breath, but I hope they can. Here is AG Pam Bondi talking about what is going on regarding violent gangs in U.S. neighborhoods.
Administrative error as to why he was deported, and he is a known gang member. ICE testified he was a gang member, and we believe he should stay where he is. You know, the defense had argued that he was, a journeyman, that he was training to be an electrician. Well, the last gang member we arrested, who was a violent murderer, was also hanging wallpaper in a place called the Villages in Florida, one of the biggest retirement places in our country. So these people are living among us. One of the big cases we had, I think you're very aware of, half an hour from where we're standing, was another violent gang member living right among us in a very, very nice residential neighborhood. Wreaths on the door next door to him, children's bicycles. So that's what these gangs do. They infiltrate our country and they live among us. So to say that he was training to be an electrician does not legitimize him from being a violent gang member. And we will continue to fight for the safety of Americans and get these people out of our country to make America safe. Every victim of crime deserves to be safe. And these families who have lost loved ones to these, they are foreign adversaries, they are terrorists, and they are living among us no longer. And especially after that ruling yesterday, they better start self-deporting because we're coming after them. And
No, I like this version of Pam Bondi. It's a pretty good version. We typed in the Obama-Biden-Harris. I'm sorry, we said Obama-Biden-Harris intentionally created this situation. This is all planned. They have more plans. Act accordingly. Heads up. Stay alert. Stay frosty. Demons lurk in the shadows. Shame on those deep state Democrats. So I like this version of Pam Bondi just fine. Here's Carolyn
They
Levitt
are enjoying their lowest approval rating ever.
talking about Democrats and being as unliked as ever before.
Because this is who they are trying to represent. These far left activists who don't stand for anything. They only stand against Donald Trump. And they hate, as you just heard from that one individual who wished death upon the president of the United States, they not just hate him, they hate the nearly 80 million Americans who elected to vote him. The Democrats have officially become the party of crazy. President Trump and the Republicans are the party of common sense. They are enjoying their lowest approval rating ever because.
Yeah. The entire Democrat Party needs to be shattered into 1,000 pieces and scattered into the winds. They do not have the consent of the governed RNED. There you go. Consent of the governed. And they are engaging in treason. It's time to indict. This isn't just a disagreement over what type of topping to have on the pizza. This isn't just, do you want the vanilla chocolate cake for the birthday cake, or do you want the chocolate birthday cake? Vanilla chocolate, pick one. Do you want mint chocolate chip, or do you want strawberry ice cream? It's not just a disagreement over little things. This is a disagreement over the United States of America. And the one side is constantly lying and using racial manipulation to silence and control by cajoling the rest of us. The public can't stand the Democrat Party because they've been attacking us nonstop for decades. And by the way, the deep state is a Republican thing too. The Bushes, the Cheneys, Romney, McConnell, Graham, Kinzinger. There's a few right now. How about Amy Coney Barrett? I think there's a few people that are Comey. I think there's several people that are full-fledged members of this deep state. And they're playing for the team that wants to harm you. They want to psychologically harm you with constantly bombarding your brain with negativity, division, hatred. No. It's Trump that's hateful. He's hateful to everybody that's not. No. He's pro-American. That's the part. You can take issue with 10 or 20 decisions he's made, and there's investors, and there's BlackRock, and there's Israel. And I hear every one of your concerns. There's a big concern that too many of these people are being taken too quickly without what some are calling due process. There's concerns about President Trump. But the reason he's so hated and why they're going so hard at him is because he's effective. And if they turn off the money supply, so they stop stealing out of your pocket to fund these groups who hate you, who hate this country, who are trying to ruin this place, poison it from the inside out. It's the Cloward and Piven strategy of the Obama doctrine. You overwhelm the system with so much spending, it goes bankrupt. And guess what? You get all of your buddies rich along the way. So not only do you get to topple the nation, you also get to become millionaires because of it. What a great plan. What do you think Pelosi's been doing with Schumer and Obama and Biden? What do you think they've been up to? They're robbing us blind, and they're taking away our civil liberties. David was saying it's hard to find us on YouTube today. Yep, that's why, once again, not just you, David, but everybody, please sign up for a free Rumble account. Get the app on your phone. Like, for example, Steven Crowder is no longer putting content on YouTube. There's no point. They can't jump through the hoops. They don't even tell you what you said that was wrong. They won't offer you the opportunity to mute it. They just ban you. And Rumble is like it used to be on YouTube. Everybody has everything to say, and they just let it happen. That's how social media is supposed to be. So please get a Rumble account. They're not a sponsor yet. But yeah, if YouTube is shadow banning me, I mean, I'm not surprised at all. Did Marine Le Pen get out of prison? I think so. House arrest. Let me see. Is Le Pen out of jail? I'll address that. According to Grok here, not in jail. She was convicted of embezzling European Union funds on March 31st of 2025. 4-year prison term, 2 years suspended, and the other 2 to be served under house arrest with an electronic tag. However, Le Pen has appealed the verdict, and the prison sentence and fine are on hold pending the appeal process. The appeal does not suspend her 5-year ban from running. A 5-year ban from running from office. That's what this is all about. Screw them. France, take control of your damn country. Get it together, would you? The UK's got to get it together. Ireland needs to get it together. Denmark needs to get it together. All of Europe needs to get your act together right now. We are not playing Team America World Police, but you can't let them take out the populace that you need to defend your country from the invasion that you're under. That's the Obama doctrine. This does delay any form of detention, including house arrest. Therefore, she's not currently serving jail time or under house arrest while the appeal is ongoing. Worth noting, French legal system can be slow and appeals often take months or years to resolve. Some indicate the appeal might not be heard till 26, meaning Le Pen remains free for now, but under the shadow of the political ban. Her supporters, they called him far-right figure. Don't call him far-right. I don't use that term. Including right figures like Viktor Orban and Matteo Salvini, have called the ruling a political attack, while others, including President, who is that? Perthuis, argue it's a necessary response to a serious and lasting attack on the rules of democratic life. What? The lack of personal enrichment is in the embezzlement. Funds were used to benefit her party, national rally, rather than herself, has fueled debate about the severity of the sentence and its political motivations. It's not even that she became wealthy like the Bidens, like the Clintons, like the Obamas, like the McConnells, like the Harry Reids. Go down the list. Go down the list. Anyway, there's our update on Marine Le Pen. Thank you for that, actually. That part of the story was sort of lacking. I didn't quite get the update. I sort of had the same general vibe you had, just kind of scrolling. If I do a deep dive, I'll do a deep dive. But I don't know, something pending appeal I didn't get too worked up over per se. I covered it in a frustrated way because, they're doing the same thing they did to Trump, to Bolsonaro. They can't beat him, so they have to play tricks on him so that they can keep robbing you. It's self-defense, people. Like, they are trying to ruin our lives. You have to put some self-defense measures in place. And that's a populist running your country. And you can take issue with a lot of things President Trump has done, but I've never seen somebody get so many wins this quickly and to put us directionally moving in the right general area. That's almost a 180-degree turn from we were going over the falls. We were going to be in a barrel and go over Niagara Falls. We have turned it around and we are going somewhere other than directly at the bottom of those, where those rocks are sticking out. Anyway. Insider paper said, hang on, where do we go? That's bigger. U.S. markets surged at the open with the Dow gaining 1,300 points. Where are we at today? Let's do a live check-in. Kablamo up 284 points. Hey, look at that. We're up 0.75% today. Because things go down and things go up. Come on. You're talking to a generation of crypto investors. You think we give a shit about your short-term fluctuations? Who's getting freaked out about this? By the way, if you're older and you have all your money wrapped up in this, I don't know what to tell you. That's pretty reckless to me. Don't take advice from me either, ever. I have to say that so I can't be sued or something. They take that way too far, and everybody does that thing where they disavow their own opinion and act like they don't have one, but they do, but they're not encouraging you to make one, or they'll strongly encourage you to do the opposite, like the Jim Cramer rule, you know. But you're talking to a generation of people who are crypto investors. Yeah, it swings wildly down, it swings wildly up. We're used to it. Not going to freak out. But I get it. The 80-year-olds are, and they're still like that final generation of brainwashed TV users, which is why those are the only people that you see at those Doge rallies. Oh, look, hands off our Medicare, hands off of our Social Security. It's like, fool, don't you get it? You're bankrupt. You're beyond bankrupt. So anyway, yeah, our nation is toast if we don't fix this. We have to fix it. No more unnecessary spending. We're going to claw back every dollar that we can. Yes, we're going to need some investments into our military. Doggone it, military industrial complex. But yeah, I want the biggest, baddest shit. And then maybe take it easy on year 2. How about that? Get set up with the stuff that you need. And then go through your pantry and go through the ingredients in due time. But like, I'm okay with that. Nobody's stopped as much spending ever than what we're watching with Doge and Trump and Elon. I'll take it. So anyway, the market surged 1,300 points, and as of right now, it is up 267. So if those trends continue, no, I don't think that Obama annual royalty payment was a true story either. That was one that I referenced earlier, Bella's Chance, about the Jasmine Crockett story. That emanated from a satire site that put a story out that was a fake story. It was supposed to be like humorous or satirical. But then it got passed along as, did you see the story? Because out of context, you're just reading things. I'm like, I don't know. What am I reading? Then they're saying Jasmine Crockett's grandmother has been gone for many years, and she's been cashing the checks up until now. And I did do an episode discussing the royalty payment for Obamacare to the Obamas, and that was one of the same exact ones. It was the origin. Thankfully, X, I think, caught that one with a disclaimer at the bottom from Community Notes. And it says, yeah, there's no confirmation of this. It appears that the earliest known conversations of this were when it appeared in this publication, this satire site, this satire website or social media site or whatever, they put out a fake story. So anyway, just be careful with those stories, guys. Because I saw that one, I shared that one, and I had to do some research to figure it out. But that's why some of these are happening. Okay, and we're talking about cutting spending. Why can't DC cut spending? Red Pill Truth 2024 shared this. This is David Sachs talking about why DC can't cut spending. And oh, wait, why didn't it? Back to this tab. Good, I'm glad I checked that. Oh no, it's okay that we make mistakes. We Bella's Chance. Listen, I literally went through that story and had to do the deep dive because it didn't seem right. And the more I looked around, I'm like, this isn't right. This isn't confirmed. I don't see anybody confirming this. Let me dig deeper. Then I started to find some community notes, and it's like, no. That's where this is coming from. If someone wants to prove something, you could please be the first person to post that, because the only people that have posted anything is from a satirical news site. That's all that they've talked about. So that's why community notes is so helpful, to just leave a tag. And maybe like if those same stories start sharing, you just put a green tag around that says this emanated from a satire site. Just something. I think we could community note that. I've sent Elon, I don't know, many messages about user experience and glitches and things that could be improved for the site. That being one of them. Because then we would all know, like, oh, this, you're like, oh my God, Obama was getting these royalty payments every year for Obamacare. I knew it. That son of a bitch. He only passed it to enrich himself. See, that's what's wrong with this country right now. It's like, I agree with all the things that were said, except this isn't a proof of that. there's plenty of real examples, so we should use those examples. And we need to bring it to each other's attention when we're talking about a story that's like, I'm pretty sure that's not an accurate story. Can we double check that? You want to, go down the rabbit hole real quick? Because I think that's not accurate. Because, then what they do is they'll say, oh, the new American media. Remember the time they covered that story? They're putting out these conspiracy theories that Obama was getting royalty checks from Obamacare. Like, you can't trust anything that comes from the new American media. You know what they engage in. Misinformation and disinformation. Those are their buzzwords they like to use now. They used to be conspiracy theorist. You're such a conspiracy theorist. You're such a theorist. Okay. So anyway, I just try to do my best to filter as I can. And there's usually tells, like if something looks cropped a little strangely, or if like the font isn't quite as sharp, almost like in Multiplicity where Keaton, where he's like, when you make a copy of a copy and it's not quite as sharp, meet number 3. Hey, Steve. Even the quality of some of these memes, you can tell something's a little off, like photocopied or like transferred in lower resolution. It's grainy or off-centered or fuzzy or blurred, or the font looks weird, or there's no attribution. It doesn't say ABC. Now, I'm once again not to say that the lying legacy media company stamp of approval means anything. But what it does mean is that it's been widely circulated and published with a heading like this. You can at least say that they are reporting it to be true. ABC is reporting this in this manner. You don't have to believe this story, but you can say ABC has staked their reputation on this story based on this headline. So when you don't see anything attributed to any author or any particular, CBS logo or this television show or this podcast, even if it's just somebody is making this assertion on a podcast, you could say, on the Patrick Bet-David show, Jane Smith alleges that she uncovered evidence that Jasmine Crockett has been cashing her dead grandmother's Social Security checks for 12 years. Reporting that Jane Smith was on the PBD podcast making these allegations are not endorsing the allegations, claiming the allegations are valid. We're reporting that people are talking about this. What does that mean? Can this be proven? Where are we at? So it's all part of a process with me trying to make sense of the stories that I see every day. That's why I really do put a lot of energy into trying to figure out what's really happening so I don't steer you the wrong way. But, let's be honest. I've had 3 or 4 different reactions to that, the track meet twin that was stabbed and he expired in his brother's arms. Like that's a human interest story. That is tough. But it's been reported so many different ways. I'm not sure what is going on. So do we do like we did during George Floyd and just go out and burn things down under the direction of Democrats? Or do we, I don't know, like Kyle Rittenhouse, wait a minute and look at all the video and go, this guy was getting chased 3 different times by 3 different people. The last 2 were aiming directly at his face. Like this is the most clear-cut case of self-defense. But then you're trying to figure out who the aggressor was in the stabbing case. And like, I don't know. At first I thought it was that way. They told someone that wasn't supposed to be in a spot to move a spot. And the guy got mad and pulled out a weapon and attacked him and ended him. Or the kid was allowed to be in the spot and these 2 started manhandling or threatening him, or they just moved the backpack. And this guy got so mad about it, he went and found a weapon. Then he came back with premeditation. He's like, I'll show you. I'll do this for self-defense. Like, that's not self-defense. That's premeditation. If you're actively getting attacked by multiple people, you could have a reasonable fear of your life, and you could use force to get out of that active situation. You can't. I don't think they kidnapped any of your property. I don't think they stole any of your possessions or kidnapped any of your loved ones. I don't think there was any immediate need to attack these people. But I'm still unpacking the story. Every time I read something different, it's got a slightly different twist. It's like, yeah, y'all made this okay with Daniel Penny, self-defense, right? It's like, no, my God, no. Do you have no idea what self-defense is? Because the guy on the subway that Daniel Penny restrained, he was threatening the lives of all the people in that car, instilling terror and fear into every one of these people. He's threatening to end the lives of these people, and he was restrained. So that's a story I still don't even have the facts on. But I did. I'm like, oh, so this is a Rosa Parks? Like, don't tell me I'm not going to go to the back of the bus. I'm going to sit right here. Oh, and they took that young man's life over nothing. I mean, over something. Because, yes, that's exactly the same. I'm still trying to unpack. There's a lot of bad narratives going on. I thought the interview with the dad and the brother were very telling. Almost like they're obfuscating. And I thought the brother made it sound like they were the aggressors. But forcefully telling someone to get out of the seat, whether you're supposed to be there or not, that's not really. So, like, what was his backpack moved, and then a struggle began, and then a fight did break out, and during the fight, he used a weapon to defend himself, or he tossed his backpack over with his books, says, "Get the hell out of here." The guy's like, "I warned you what was going to happen if you came at me." Then he got his backpack and he went to the car and he grabbed something and he came back and he went and killed him. I think all of these details are going to matter, and I don't have any of the details. So you know what I don't do? I don't burn my own country down. I don't burn my own city down. That's what the Summer of Love was. That was all to get Trump out of office. That was all to just really make Orange Man bad and make the whole brand of MAGA, Republican, try to make it all toxic. Plus the coronavirus. Oh my. And then when they got in power, they messed up literally everything they touched for 4 years straight. Except to them, they weren't messing it up. They were doing exactly what they were hoping to do. So that's where we find ourselves now. A little bit of new leadership. Okay. Here is why DC can't cut spending.
The U.S. government,
David Sachs on cutting U.S. aid,
runs a $2 trillion deficit every year. We're in debt almost $40 trillion. And we also knew that anytime anyone tries to cut anything in Washington, the whole city screams bloody murder. Okay, so the question is just why? Well, now we know. The money is all going to them. It's like round tripping to them. New York Times, getting paid. Politico, getting paid. Bill Kristol, perennial warmonger, getting paid. Ukraine, getting paid. Like 11 out of 12 publications, Ukraine, getting paid.
Incredible.
Viktor Orban, who's the prime minister of Hungary, was saying that he's very popular in Hungary. His political opposition, funded by USAID. In Poland, the left-wing political opposition funded by USAID, and on and on and on it goes.
BBC, you wonder why everyone in the UK
paid.
so, yeah.
Like
I couldn't believe the BBC's getting paid.
Every left-wing organization in the world seems to be getting paid by this slush fund at USAID, which disperses about $50 billion a year. That's $1 billion a week. That's actually a lot of money. And so it makes you wonder, the left in general tries to portray itself as a movement of the people, that it's grassroots. This is the exact opposite. This is AstroTurf.
And it's totalitarian. They're funding the oppressive backward regimes. They're not the good guys. The bad guys have been pushing the bad shit for far too long in far too many places. That's why the leadership in Canada matters. Mexico matters. El Salvador matters. Brazil matters. All of Europe, Ukraine, Middle East, it all matters. This is a chessboard. They will not leave us alone. They're trying to ruin everything and steal everything. They started this. They are the ones declaring war on us. They are the ones causing problems, whoever they are. We just want to be left alone. We just want to be able to be with the people that we like, doing things we like, and not in a constant state of panic and poorness and rage, deep-seated racial rage, because Obama and the Democrats told me I need to hate certain groups of people. MAGA people love these people in America, Americans. One common language, one set of guiding principles of the governing documents of the country, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, basic freedoms, some ecological health, some basic infrastructure, a robust defense to make sure that we don't become a victim of some other country who wants to be an aggressor more than we want to be a protector of ourselves. So it's got to be strong. But most of us are looking for pretty basic stuff. They just make it harder and harder. So yeah, when you start cutting the funding, you start to see who's shrieking. And when you see that, you start to get a good idea of who's on which team.
This is basically
and this is AstroTurf, like he said. This is not something organic and from the ground up. It's money coming in.
Money coming from the top down out of Washington to fund all of these groups, maybe not even in the United States, like all over the world. So it makes you wonder, what is the real level of local support for these left-wing policies all over the world?
I don't know. Cat Turd here says, full screen. Yeah, that is the joke about Jim Cramer, that he's wrong all the time. He's usually backward. What is it? It's like the inverse Kramer thing. It's like whatever he says, do the exact opposite. That's like a running joke or something. Cat Turd here says, there's nobody I have less respect for in the entire country besides Dr. Fauci than Amy Coney Barrett. Trump appointed her and gave her her dream job and complimented her and praised her, and she's been an ungrateful, backstabbing POS since day one. She got $1 million liberal book deal within weeks, and her whole goal in life is to be praised by the New York Times. Weak, coward, sellout, fraud. She's everything that's wrong with this country. She's an absolute disgusting fraud. Rogue Republican says she's a McConnell Bush establishment pick. I knew she wouldn't be loyal. Carmen saying, why did he pick her? She was never conservative. Joel Patrick says, I disagree. If the overturning of Roe versus Wade was the only thing she ever accomplished, it was worth it. And simply put, that's just a states' rights issue, because the 10th Amendment says anything that's not specifically delegated to the United States government, that's a states' rights issue. It's a states' rights issue. And that, I mean, that makes sense. That's why certain states shouldn't be allowed to prohibit you from self-defense. That is something that's a national blanket. It covers all of us. I was watching Tombstone again yesterday, and they implemented a policy where you're going to be disarmed in town. You know, so I mean, back to the 1700s, this has been an ongoing conversation. When was that? The 1800s? I forget what year. Anyway, Amy Coney Barrett, disappointing. Okay.
Mapped it through.
Here's Antonio Gracias exposing explosive findings. Illegal migrants are exploiting Social Security system, accessing benefits, and voting.
To the benefit programs. We found in the benefit programs that every benefit program we looked at was being accessed by these people. You know, 1.3 million of them are on Medicaid right now, today. And by the way, it's just ramping. It's just starting, just to give you a point. And then out of curiosity, I woke up at night like 2 a.m. I couldn't sleep. My mind was right on this. I sent the engineers note saying, hey guys, let's just look at the public voter rolls, see what we find in some friendly states. And we looked at the voter rolls and we found that thousands of them were registered to vote in a handful of states. And then we went into further with those friendly states and found that many of those people had actually voted. It was shocking to us. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed it. And so now the question we're asking ourselves is, what do we do? We referred some to prosecution. That's ongoing right now. We're thinking through how to do it. And the reality is they have various kinds of status, and it's a very detailed analysis legally that we're working through right now about how to deal with it.
So thousands of those people registered to vote.
Yes.
In the election.
Which is a federal crime, by the way.
Well, yeah. I mean, the interesting thing is like the Heritage Foundation has a very good project. It's obviously right leaning, where they're studying all cases of fraud. I looked at it before we were here. There's only been 24 cases since 2003 of somebody who's a non-citizen trying to vote. Now, those are people caught. So this would be incredibly dramatic if it was even 1,000 people.
Oh, no, Jason, it's more than 1,000. I've seen it. I've seen the data myself, and it's more than 1,000 in just a couple of states. I mean, it is shockingly bad. And this is the tip of the iceberg, guys. It's the tip of the iceberg. This doesn't include the 7.8 million people that ICE has that have come in illegally and know are here, and all the people that came illegally we don't know are here. I mean, this is not a political issue. I want to be really clear about this.
Yeah, Antonio,
this is about America.
Let's just take one step back because I just want you to repeat this. So,
and the comment we put is that the deep state Democrats are behind this and they need to be indicted for their treason already. This is pure madness. The proof is right in front of us. They hate us. They thought they were going to get away with this.
Because I think it's important, and we may have just run over it a little too quickly. You get a social security number. What you're saying is there's all of these important downstream consequences. One of the downstream consequences is you could show up, register to vote, and that's an illegitimate action that's breaking federal law. That's one. But the second is that without knowing who this person is, they can start to absorb resources that could have otherwise gone to an American. I guess that's like a fundamental part of this.
Yes, the FEMA
thing
in South Carolina.
So how do you quantify that? Can you just maybe explain it a little bit more about all of the different ways in which you think now, the United States ends up leaking services to these folks?
And also they could be contributing too, right? They could be paying taxes into the system. And so I guess there's both of those possibilities, and both of those have fingerprints to them up. So yeah, good question.
Look, we need to figure this out. This is it's massively complex. You can see the map I have on the whiteboard in our office. It's huge, and we're figuring it out right now. But let me just tell you this: in every benefit program we looked at, and this is just a handful of states, we found people on all the benefit programs, and we found them on unemployment. We found them on Medicaid. So, Jason, to your point, people on Medicaid and unemployment, they're not contributing. They're taking out. They're mooching. Right? Sure. There are criminals. I mean, look, we sent this data list to the National Targeting Center. I don't want to get too far into the data, but I can tell you they found hard hits in the targeting center.
All right, I think this is the beginning of this, right? Sorry, some of these quotes, these clips blur together, and they don't give me the time counter when I'm watching it. I don't get to see how far along it is. If it restarted, I got it. If it's because as these clips play, sometimes I'm multitasking 7 other things, and I'm listening, but I'm not fully going into detail. That's why they're big mad. They've set up a lot of theft. They set up the Cloward and Piven strategy that Barack Obama learned how to collapse a country, like George Soros with the currency, and like Cloward and Piven to overwhelm the system with benefits to the point where you go bankrupt and you've looted all the money out of the country first. Then you get to rebuild it in your image. That's always been the plan, people. That's always been the plan.
If at all,
here's MTG.
Are you about the recent stock market losses?
I'm not concerned at all. If you look at history, if you look at decades of stock performance, the market continues to go up. It went down dramatically during the Biden administration. There was quite a few dips, and none of the COVID vaccine experts and the couch stock traders were crying about it back then. Yep. Thanks, guys.
If at all, are you about
Yeah, I mean, I'm just not seeing too many people make the point that I was making. But they should. It's the crypto generation. We're used to massive swings, massive fluctuations. Donald Trump put this out it was shared through Real America's Voice. This is off of what, True Social, I think. He says, I just had a great call with the acting president of South Korea. We talked about their tremendous and unsustainable surplus, tariffs, shipbuilding, large-scale purchase of U.S. LNG, their joint venture in an Alaska pipeline, in payment for big-time military protection we provide to South Korea. They began these military payments during my first term, billions of dollars, but sleepy Joe Biden, for reasons unknown, terminated the deal. That was a shocker to all. In any event, we have the confines and probability of a great deal for both countries. Their top team is on a plane heading to the U.S., and things are looking good. We are likewise dealing with many other countries, all of whom want to make a deal with the United States. Like with South Korea, we are bringing up other subjects that are not covered by trade and tariffs and getting them negotiated also. One-stop shopping is a beautiful and efficient process. Oh my God, this is great. This is fantastic. This is modern era diplomacy. What did he rattle off here on the first? Let me go back to. Let's discuss these issues with South Korea. All right, your unsustainable surplus, tariffs, shipbuilding, large-scale purchase of the U.S. What about LNG, your joint venture in an Alaska pipeline, payment for military protection we provide to South Korea. Let's do a couple here. Let's talk about all the things. Let's touch base and see where we're at with all the stuff. And President Trump is going to negotiate to make sure the United States is in the most favorable position and link these other countries up with us. Link them up. That way you'll have economic bonds that will make it much less likely that things should go sideways and stupid, because you'll have kind of some connections. You'll have an investment reason why you should have a stake in the process, a stake in the success of the other country. It's like you buy rookie cards and you're like, oh, I hope that guy stays really healthy and has a great career over there in Minnesota or wherever. You have a vested interest. You've invested in it. People keep saying that's what President Trump's, what he's trying to push with Ukraine and Russia is like, guys, let's do some mineral deals. Let's work on some stuff. Stop killing each other. Let's make some money. They're not quite done with what they're doing, unfortunately. But if the U.S. doesn't have to foot the bill, that's a big step in the right direction. I don't want to see these people die unnecessarily. You know what I want to see less than seeing all these people die? I don't want my national credit card that's in the opposite direction of where it needs to be. I don't want to put stuff on a national credit card to fund and encourage you guys killing each other. I'd actually like to negotiate a peaceful stop to whatever you're doing, stop it. And work it out. Like, just do a pause, stop. We're calling it. The game's over. Let's tally up the points here. Just stop. Zelensky doesn't want to stop, and they don't have elections over there. But anyway, what President Trump is saying, it's pretty ingenious, pretty interesting. There we go. Like with South Korea, we're bringing up other subjects not covered by trade and tariffs and getting them negotiated also. One-stop shopping. It's a beautiful and efficient process. China also wants to make a deal badly, but they don't know how to get it started. We are waiting for their call. It will happen. God bless the USA. Psh. Like a boss button. Dude, America's back. Finally, leadership. That's just a huge win. And someone to negotiate good things happening.
But here,
we're talking about what's going on globally with resettlements of people and no-go zones and what's happened in Europe and all over the UK. Just pick a country. And what's been going on in the United States with up to 30 million non-Americans from every continent being moved into other strategic locations for God knows what purpose. Unvetted, unproven, illegal. Mass migration and control of territory is something as Americans we've been very familiar with. The entire continent has been an ancient tale of migratory peoples. I don't know how many Indian tribes. Yes, I said Indian. Cleveland Indians home opener today. Pretty cool truck, huh? You know, a lot of the Mesoamerican, Central American, South American tribes, they were different in regard where large, well, then there's the question, who built what? Did they build those temples? Or were the temples there by the time they got there? That's a whole other story for Ancient Aliens question, but the migration of humans based on ideological reasons and the lust for territory conquest have led a lot of groups, a lot of places for a lot of reasons. And this message here was discussing the Crusades. I think it's sometimes important to look backward to understand where we are today.
Here's a fun fact. The Crusades happened because of Islam, because Islam is not a religion of peace. The first crusade began in 1095, but it wasn't because Christians were looking to pick a fight with their neighbors and baptize the whole face of the planet. The first crusade was called only after 4 centuries of Muslim aggression. The first crusade was called 460 years after the first Christian city was overrun by Muslim armies. 457 years after Jerusalem was conquered by Muslims. 453 years after Egypt was taken. 443 years after Italy was plundered. 427 years after Muslims first laid siege to the Christian capital of Constantinople. 380 years after Muslims conquered Spain. 363 years after France was first attacked. And 249 years after the capital of Christendom, Rome itself, was sacked by a Muslim army. The First Crusade only came after centuries of church burnings, murder, enslavement, and forced conversions of Christians, all at the hands
That's not cool.
of Islam. And by the time the Crusades finally began, Muslim armies had conquered 2/3 of the Christian world. Look, if you want to keep living in your fantasy land where all religions are equal or where Islam is the victim, go ahead. But just so you know, history is repeating itself. Our nations are being invaded by millions of Muslim men of fighting age. This is a holy war, one that Islam started, indeed, one that Islam views as never having stopped in the first place. Islam is not a religion of peace. Its text, its prophet, and an enormous percentage of its adherents are hell-bent on breaking the cross, though they never will. There are 109 verses in the Quran that call Muslims to war with non-believers for the sake of Islamic rule. Some are quite graphic, with commands to chop off the heads and fingers and kill infidels. Their holy book also says that Muslims who do not join the fight are, quote, hypocrites, and are warned that Allah will send those people to hell if they don't join the slaughter. But here's a fun fact. The Crusades happened...
All right, then it resets. I mean, what were you taught the Crusades were about? I've had different teachers try to tell me that it was acts of Christian aggression, and then I've viewed content like this that said, no, this was a response to their warlike strategies of Islam to conquer all of the lands. How were you taught? Oh, that's cool. Bella's Chance says, I've seen WB Mason trucks forever. I believe their headquarters are in Massachusetts. That's awesome. Yeah, man, look, I've been a sports fan my whole life. I got so many of these cool trinkets, but it's like, I think what I'm starting to do is just list them and selling them off to collectors. I think it's one of the things you can only display so many cool things to the point where it's like, all right, now I got boxes. I've been going to sporting events for, come on. Although I haven't had a lot of giveaways lately. I've got some Cleveland Browns posters, but yeah, I'm a big fan of the giveaways. Yeah, WB Mason trucks. And I've never been a big collector of like toy vehicles, or what do they call these? Whatever they call them. You know, like to scale models or whatever. But I do find my way into some of them. I think I sold one of those within the past 6 months. I think I sold a bobblehead of like Mike Hargrove, the human rain delay. It's fun because it's like I get to experience reliving it existing in all of its glory, taking pictures and, doing the description and putting it on a listing. Then someone purchases. Then you go find the right size package for it and you wrap it up and you deliver it to somebody who's super excited to get it, and they take it out and it's like Christmas to them. And it gets like this whole second experience of bringing somebody some joy. There's something awesome about craftsmanship and legacy and creation of good things to leave behind. Because everything's temporary, but, it's fun. I love the process. I need to do more of it. It's just been it's been a thing that I do, but it's never been the thing that I do. Maybe it should be. Who knows? But yeah, the trucks are super cool. Anyway, yeah, just curious to get anybody's thoughts on the Crusades, because I've had teachers teach it different ways. And our question was, what is the counterpoint to this perspective? Or is this commonly known as fact? So I've had teachers explain it that way. And I've also heard a very different story. Did you see this one? End Wokeness put this out. Oh, geez, I got to put countervailing views back on the screen. Go to cdc.gov and who.int or cisa.gov/rumor control. The Cleveland Clinic study is claiming that those who End Wokeness is sharing this chart that says Cleveland Clinic study says those who got the flu vaccine were 27% more likely to get the flu this year. So there's not, and then there it is with them, and then there's the difference between them. And then I guess part of the question would be, is there a severity difference? There's lies, damn lies in statistics. Remember, that was the claim during COVID, was like, well, one group is more likely to have really bad outcomes. The other, yes, you'll get it, but it'll be less severe. But some of those claims have come under a lot of scrutiny lately. Is that something that any of you take each year? I do not. Here's Chuck Schumer. Listen to his thoughts on tariffs back in 2005.
Now we'll move on to Donald Trump's dumb and costly tariffs, the Trump tariff tax.
The bottom line is very simple, Mr. President.
Oh, that was a recent one. And now this is him in 2005. I'm sorry. It said something different on the screen.
The Chinese have enjoyed a huge trade surplus with the United States, as this chart shows. But much of that trade surplus is because the Chinese don't play fair. They don't let our goods into their country. I can tell you company after company in New York who cannot sell goods in China or can only sell the goods under certain conditions.
Was deeply disappointed last Thursday night when Senate Republicans rejected, last Friday night rather, I was deeply disappointed last Friday night when Senate Republicans rejected my measure to halt. The market is having its worst day since the COVID crisis. The ball is in the House Republicans' court. They can see for themselves just how fiscally reckless and ill-conceived the Senate bill is. Ill-conceived the Senate bill is. Donald Trump's obeisance, or Republicans' obeisance to Donald Trump's
obeisance, obedience,
increasingly
increasing. He's having a hard time. Dude, this guy is like done. This guy needs to go away. He is very Biden-y. He needs to step aside and just kind of govern from the side. He doesn't have it anymore.
Popular agenda. Now we'll move on to Donald Trump's dumb and cold.
Yeah, he's all over the map ideologically, and it's whatever he happens to be in the mood of at the time. And that's what the Democrats do. There's really not a lot of ideological consistency, and you can say plenty of bad things about Republicans. I don't take offense. I'm not a Republican. I've disliked that Republican Party for a while. I do like MAGA. It doesn't mean that I like every single decision. How could anybody like any single decision of anything? I guarantee you nobody's batting 1,000. Do you like 50% of it? I like 50% of it. Oh, yeah. Maybe even more. Can you say that? Let's start with that. But yeah, the Democrats are just all over the place, in all honesty. Whatever will get them power. And they stay united, by the way. They keep their party together, and they don't infight like Republicans do. All right. Elon Musk's close business partner explains why the U.S. needs Doge. I don't know how long this music.
Washington are so cynical is because they know all the bullshit. We're adding $1 trillion.
We're adding $1 trillion to the deficit every 100 days. It's compounding and now passing the size of the Defense Department budget. And it's compounding. And pretty soon it's going to be adding $1 trillion in every 90 days, $1 trillion every 80, then $1 trillion every 70 days. And then if it doesn't get fixed, at some point we enter a hyperinflationary spiral and we become Argentina or Brazil and kablooey, right? So everybody in DC knows something has to be done. And then everybody in DC knows for a fact that's impossible to do anything these guys can do is in the light of day. I'm reading it because I don't want the music copyright strike.
A day, and they can do it on social media. They can completely bypass the press. They can completely bypass the cynicism. They can expose any element of, unconstitutional or, silly government spending. They can run victory laps every single day on what they're doing. They can bring the people into the process. These people are spending our money. Okay, here's the thing you hear in Washington. Here's one of the things. So the first thing you hear is this is impossible. They'll be able to do nothing. And then, I walk them through this and they're like, it starts to dawn on them that this is a new kind of thing. And then they're like, well, it doesn't matter because all the money is in entitlements and the debt and the military. And so you've got this silly fake, whatever, NPR funding or whatever. And it's a rounding error and it doesn't matter. It's the charging stations that don't exist. It's the $40 billion of charging stations and they build 8 charging stations. Or it's the broadband internet plan that.
Yeah. Charging stations, broadband internet. Where'd the money go? I don't know. You're going to build a super fast bullet train across California. Where'd the money go? I don't know. You don't know. Okay.
Delivered broadband to nobody, right? And cost you $30 billion. These boondoggles. And what everybody in Washington says is that $30 billion is a rounding error on the federal budget. It doesn't matter. Who cares if they make it go away? And of course, any taxpayer is like, what the?
What do you mean?
It's $30 billion.
Yeah, $30 billion as a rounding error. And that's how we've been operating for a long time because everybody dips their beak. Everybody gets a little taste of it. Yeah, I'll get you a little bonus. I'll get you set up with something over here. Let's make it happen. I like that we're trying to get things figured out because we've been in a really rough spot for a really long time. All right, let me run through what I have for you on X here as we wrap up. If you have any thoughts, any other stories that you wanted to hear discussed today, please let me know. Kyle Becker is reporting the new Department of Justice filings reveal that Ryan Wesley Ruth, the man accused of attempting to assassinate Donald Trump in 2024, tried to buy a rocket launcher from someone he believed was a Ukrainian arms contact. Send me an RPG or Stinger and I will see what we can do, he allegedly wrote. He said, Trump is not good for Ukraine. God. The filings also cite a letter where Ruth explicitly stated his intent. It is up to you now to finish the job. I will offer $150,000 to whomever can complete the job. Officials say Ruth surveilled Trump's golf course in Florida for 4 weeks, and had detailed maps, weapons, burner phones, and travel plans to Mexico. The FBI found fingerprints on the rifle aimed at Trump, a search history on how to flee, and handwritten notes urging Trump's assassination. All of this happened during the Biden administration, which had previously warned about MAGA extremists while missing clear threats from the other side. Continuing on, Libs of TikTok reporting that in Trump's Department of Homeland Security will enforce a 1996 existing law. This law fines illegal aliens $998 a day, up to $998 a day, for failing to leave the United States. They can also seize property for non-payment. Trump invoked the law during his first term, but Biden rescinded it. Illegals, you have a simple solution. Leave and self-deport. Here is Glenn Beck. He's going to say, what are the odds of this Klaus Schwab news? Let's go like, how are we going to do this? Go like that. There we go. Play.
By the way, Klaus Schwab is stepping down as leader.
No,
yes,
not Klaus.
Klaus is. He's Klaus is saying I've had enough. He's got to go. He's got to go. And the reason why now he's not being pushed out. He's not being pushed out. Apparently, women are alleging that they were pushed out and saw their careers suffer when they were pregnant or coming back from maternity leave. And also other women claimed that senior managers had sexually harassed them, which, Klaus Schwab, that's the WEF. What kind of ESG score would they get? I'm kind of wondering. Because that doesn't sound like people that would get a good ESG score, does it? No, but I don't think they have to worry about the ESG scores because, well, I mean, they created it. So, it's for us. It's for us little people, not for people like Klaus Schwab. So I don't know if they're going to have a cake or, I don't know. Do Nazis still eat strudel? So maybe they don't have cake, but they have strudel for him because that's fantastic.
Yeah. Changing of the guard. You're seeing it happen. Soros, Schwab, Pelosi, Schumer, Biden. They're swapping out. Yeah, check out our show yesterday. Don't be a panickin'. Tariffs dropped against America. Lying legacy media produces panic parade. Don't be a panickin'. President Trump and Pete Hegseth are touting a $1 trillion U.S. defense budget. Trump is approving the record U.S. defense budget the administration approved is the largest in the country's history. Says we're saving a lot of money, but we need to build the military. We need to be strong because there are a lot of bad forces out there right now, Trump said, commenting on the decision. Peace president indeed. Well, look, Dagny Taggart. Peace through strength, right? If you're strong enough, it's a really bad idea to mess with you. And if someone wants to mess with you, it's a good idea that you make it as difficult as possible. That's just common sense. Here is President Trump discussing the agreement, the arrangement.
We have great things happening with our military. We also essentially approved a budget, which is in the facility, you'll like to hear this, of $1 trillion, $1 trillion, and nobody's seen anything like it. We have to build our military, and we're very cost conscious, but the military is something that we have to build, and we have to be strong because you got a lot of bad forces out there now. So we're going to be approving a budget, and I'm proud to say, actually, the biggest one we've ever done for the military.
So some people are concerned about this, coming on the heels of meeting with Netanyahu and being too cozy with him. Is Donald Trump the peace president? I mean, I've seen him taking some military actions already. Some Houthis, remember that one? Oh, they gathered to get instructions on how to go mess with our ships. Don't mess with American ships. I mean, if you're getting attacked, that's different. That's stopping a conflict. All right. Because it's not like we've been abusing the Houthis. They've been abusing us. And finally, you have a president that's like, and a secretary of defense that's saying, no, we're going to pass through here unmolested. Let me make this abundantly clear. We are going to go through here. And if you have the wrong opinion about this, you're going to be on the wrong end of a bad conversation. That's just kind of standing up for yourself. And there are threats, and there's militarized threats on our southern border. So I'm reluctantly fine with it. However, that's with the caveat. I will demand less the next time. And it has to be less next time, like actually less. I'll overspend in year one if you're going to drop it down the next two. Maybe frame it that way. Because the math isn't mathing on our national debt. It just doesn't make sense. But yeah, we got a lot of threats right now. I mean, we always have, but you have to give somebody tools to work with, and tools are expensive. And by the way, Biden gave away a whole bunch of things that we could have been using. Gave away. What a scam. The Knights Templar disguised as Holy Crusaders. Yeah, there were the Templars taking out everything in their paths and went to go loot King Solomon's temple for knowledge and power. Thank you, David. Great seeing you, buddy. Let's listen to Megyn Kelly here.
Exclusive.
We touched on this earlier in the show. This is what we were talking about with the Tennessee killer.
We received an exclusive on the Nashville shooters manifesto from the FBI. We exclusively had permission to report on it, though not to post the documents. And we spent the weekend reviewing the over 1,000 of them. What we concluded, and it's outlined in Morning Update, which is on YouTube and on our podcast feed, is that we were misled by Nashville authorities last week who said, there's not one document called the manifesto, so we're just going to tell you, based on our reading of these 1,000+ documents, what the motives here were. And guess what didn't make the dance? The shooter's trans ideology. At all. At all. So we read through the documents, and again, we've been misled. This woman was obsessed with trying to trans herself, wanting to trans herself, trans ideology. I mean, it was like reading a leftist playbook on race, gender, and hatred for America. And now it's becoming really clear why this wasn't shared with us for 2 years. Well, we've seen it, and we don't have the same agenda as the people making those decisions. And thanks to Kash Patel and his transparent efforts at the FBI, we will bring you the full report.
This is the Obama doctrine of pushing this division and this hatred. You know, most people on the other side will discuss gender dysphoria, believing that you're of a different gender than you are. And there will be love and compassion for people. And if someone is 18 and wants to go about their business and decide to do whatever it is they want to do with their own money, there's not a lot of people that would push back on that. It's that there's a push to, well, you know what they're pushing. And it's pushing a lot of people into why I resent Barack Obama so much: unnecessary rage. It's like most people are kind of okay with you doing what you want to do. It's just, you're not going to compete against girls in sports. You're not going to go into the locker rooms and the bathrooms. No thanks. And just because you say you are something doesn't mean that you are, and it doesn't mean that we have to participate in this with you. You do you, By the way, I'm also pro-orgasm, so I don't really want to see anybody mangling perfectly healthy body parts to the point where you can never experience an orgasm. Like, this is on the benefit of your humanity. If you lose that, that's a tough thing. And that's literally just kind of caring about you and having a great quality of life. But the fact that this story was hidden for 2 years is really shocking. This was President Trump. I don't know when this video was from, at the Cato Institute, but he's talking about the income tax.
America is going to be very rich again, and it's going to happen very quickly. It's time for the United States to return to the system that made us richer and more powerful than ever before. Do you know the United States in 1870 to 1913, all tariffs, and that was the richest period in the history of the United States, relatively speaking. In other words, relatively. And they set up the Great Tariff Commission of 1887, and this commission had one function: what to do with all the money that we took in. It was so enormous that they had no idea. It was a blue ribbon committee. It was set up 1887, and what to do with all of the money that we had. And again, Teddy Roosevelt was a beneficiary, because when McKinley was killed, he took over this vast sum of money, and he did all of those national parks and all of the other things. And I'm not knocking him, but he was given a vast amount of money, and that was all made through tariffs. We had no income tax. The income tax came in 1913. As I said in my speech last week, instead of taxing our citizens to enrich foreign nations, we should be tariffing and taxing foreign nations to enrich our citizens. Does that make sense, right?
Met with tepid applause. But look, the tariff is the negotiation tactic or the short-term situation. A lot of these can be, leave them on. If there's a short-term need to negotiate some power here, there's other places we can buy from, and we need to start making sure we can manufacture everything we need right here in our yard. So anyway, yeah, here's Amy Coney Barrett allegedly looking in disgust because Trump is there. But I did notice in this video, it looked like someone else might be there, and she's looking at someone else that walks past. I don't know what's going on here, but DC Drano says, while the Supreme Court victory for Trump that allowed him to deport cartel members is huge, it was only a 5-4 decision. Guess who joined the 3 liberal justices to keep cartels here in America? Amy Coney Barrett. Comey Barrett. Because the Supreme Court has granted the Trump administration's request to continue to summarily remove non-citizens whom the government has designated as members of the Venezuelan Tren de Aragua gang under the Alien Enemies Act. So the flip side is that some people are mainly concerned that there's some sort of due process. How are these people proven to be foreign gang members? How is it proven? The counter argument is that how would you want the situation handled if it were Biden or Obama at the helm? You know, and some could argue it's like, yeah, that's what we're emerging from. It's been hell. It's been really bad. It has not been good. They haven't been getting much of anything right. That's how it's been. If you want to know how it's been, that's how it's been. But also, it's like, I don't know. I have a social security number. I've been here for quite some time. I'm not at risk of leaving my homeland. I didn't go sneak into another country illegally or abusing the claims of asylum. When the human smugglers on the other side coach everybody to claim asylum because you're getting paid to funnel them through your Catholic charities, your this and that, your other charities, going to your blue cities and going to fix so you can get census and maybe social security numbers and maybe benefits and maybe vote. What are we doing here, people? What are we doing? If there's a reason that all these people need to be here, like where is the filtration system to make sure we're not getting anybody that has forfeited their rights in any other nation? And you got a criminal background. Like I've seen some really awful stuff. Whereas if you would have done a basic background check, you would have never let that person into this place. And now there's people who are gone forever from their communities, from their families. So you got to really be concerned about the type of people that are going to spend more time fighting for gang members than American citizens. But, you know, there is a civil libertarian perspective, is that you got to be kind of careful. So SCOTUS grants the Trump administration request to continue to summarily remove non-citizens whom the government has designated as members of TDA under the Alien Enemies Act. So it's existing protocols that they have. But just the concern is that how do you double check and make sure these people that none of the good people are going to end up mistakenly going? And there's a lot of weird reporting going on now. Let's listen to Jasmine Crockett. What is this that she just said?
So I had to go around the country and educate people about what immigrants do for this country, or the fact that we are a country of immigrants.
Right, right.
The fact is, ain't none of y'all trying to go and farm right now. Okay, so I'm lying. Raise your hands. You're not. You're not. We done picking cotton. We are. You can't pay us enough to find a plantation. I know that's right. So I had to.
I know that's right. Boy, this is what you're getting, people. Tim Pool says, yeah, she's done picking cotton, but she wants others to do it, implying she's okay with indentured servitude and slavery so long as it's some other ethnic group. Weird. Meet your Democrats. Let the deep state Democrats talk, we said. They will tell you exactly who they are. 21% approval rate for Democrats is far too high. Destroy that entire party of oppressors, traitors, and deviants. Kash Patel talking about Judge Juan Merchan. Should he have ever been assigned to Donald Trump's case? And if not, why not?
It's just amazing that he would say that.
It's shockingly unconstitutional, Trace. It's great to be with you, and I'm here to announce on your show a measure that I'm working with Congress that should be Congress's bread and butter. And I'm calling for the subpoenas to be issued to Judge Merchan's daughter's company, who made $15+ million from the illicit information pouring out of her father's courtroom. I want to know the bank records, because money doesn't lie. Yep. I want to know how deep it is and how much of it went to the family and how much of it is going to the family after this false conviction. And then we need to investigate the FEC actual violations that this judge and his family conducted, because he should never have been overseeing this trial to begin with because of the illicit campaign money that was flowing through there, and the unconstitutional due process violations are only the beginning. So America is calling for accountability of our judicial system, and Congress is the only lever that has it, and I'm hoping for one or two brave members of Congress that I'm talking to issue those subpoenas ASAP.
So he's waiting for the subpoenas to get that going. Daughter's company allegedly made $15+ million from the illicit information. Yeah, that's called conflict of interest. Tara Bull here is asking, why is the media silent about this? Inflation has fallen to 1.22% per Truflation. I can't claim to know what this exactly means. Down 6.15%. So it was at 7.37% before, and now it's down to 1.22. So this is a year-to-date low, 1.22, and a year-to-date high, 3%. I'm trying to make sense. Why is this minus? Sorry, guys. I don't know how to read this. If any of you can understand what this means, please break it down. But every time I see these graphics, I got to just kind of double check, make sure I understand what we're talking about. My Cleveland franchise is set to have their home opener today, coming up in about an hour, about 35 degrees. I don't know why the schedulers ever put games in open air stadiums in early April. It's really not a good idea. We should be on the coasts or in domes. You know this. Do better, schedule people. Anyway, that'll be today. Here's Elon talking with Sean Hannity about what's going on with all of the backlash.
Countries. You're working on helping the blind see and all of these other things. Is it really come down to the basic, you're aligned with President Donald Trump, who also is a friend of mine, and that you have identified well over $100 billion in waste, fraud, abuse that our federal government never should have been spending? Is that what it comes down to?
Yeah, it turns out when you take away people's, what the money they're receiving fraudulently, they get very upset, and they basically want to kill me because I'm stopping their fraud, and they want to hurt Tesla because we're stopping this terrible waste and corruption in the government. And well, I guess they're bad people. Bad people will do bad things.
Well, I know that overall, financially, in the end, yes, they can hurt you, but the people that they'll end up hurting are the people that work in your dealerships that may risk losing their job. The people that they may end up hurting are the people that work on the line and build the Teslas. They're going to be the ones hurt. And that to me is despicable on their part, just because they might have a political difference or perceived political difference. Let me.
It is sort of a shame. Sort of. It's such a shame. The left tries to destroy anything that they can't. Anything they disagree with, they try to destroy it. And the right's just kind of like, hey, just, do your thing over there. Like, whatever the thing is. Like, all right. But no, we're not going to do it that way. You just do it over there. That's not good enough. You have to be destroyed if you have a difference of opinion. Luckily, at 21% approval rate, most people 4-1 are not agreeing with it. This post here, axiomatic enemy of the state. The people who claim they're going to drastically cut spending are now bragging about $1 trillion military budget. You've been bamboozled once again. This post is unavailable, is it? Okay. I don't know. There's something about the U.S. reacting. Oh, maybe it was this. Is this the actual Zelensky account? 8.1 million followers. Their military captured 2 Chinese citizens who were fighting as part of the Russian army in Ukrainian territory in the Donetsk region. ID documents, bank cards, and personal data were found in their possession. They have info suggesting there are many more Chinese citizens in the occupiers' units than just these two. We're currently verifying all the facts, intelligence. How will China intend to respond to this? This definitely requires a response from the United States, Europe, and all those around the world who want peace. I mean, I don't know. What are you supposed to make of this video?
Boom, 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 boom. 然后我的 commander boom， 然后就哇
Speaking English.
啊，然后我就我呀啊，然后他就就跟那个
I don't know what I'm watching here, but it's out there. Kamala doing the money laundering. Anyway, whatever that's about. Here's an Arizona cattle rancher talking about these Trump tariffs. It's good info to think about. You want to talk about the stories and how this impacts people? Well, here's a way.
Out in Aguila, Arizona, you have to watch for cattle. Brian Engelman is a third-generation Arizona rancher.
These are all Hereford cross cattle. The black ones are showing the Angus more, and the red ones are showing the Hereford more.
His cattle ranch produces enough beef to feed 4,000 families a year, but that number could be a lot higher.
What we would like is to have access to these foreign markets.
Cows like the ones behind me will be steaks in a year, and Engelman says if Trump's tariff plan works, ranchers like himself will be able to sell those steaks in international markets that right now they just don't have access to.
Australia ships a lot of beef into the United States, and that's fine, but they won't let our better cuts go into Australia. We have zero sales in Australia right now, none. And they sell billions of dollars in the United States.
Even with the stock market dip.
I am a Trump supporter.
Engelman wants people to be patient with President Trump.
You just need to let this guy work for a minute and see what it's the art of the deal. We got to let him negotiate. He's been negotiating well for the American people before. I think we give him a chance to do it again.
You catching that? Give it a chance. Let's let him get to work. More tariff talk here. More tariff talk, yes.
And I appreciate what the president is doing on tariffs, specifically in our home state of Wyoming. In terms of beef, the cattle producers, they're saying it is about time. Yeah. One of the countries that you just showed on.
This is John Barrasso, Senator.
That slip before I came on, Australia. Australia has sold $29 billion worth of beef in the United States, and we haven't been able to sell one hamburger in Australia because of barriers. They showed Thailand, 30% tariffs on beef coming from the United States. Vietnam, 50%. You look at these numbers, and the ranchers of Wyoming are saying, thank you, Mr. President, it is about time. And I appreciate what the...
There you go. J.D. Vance says the Supreme Court today rejected the idea that far-left judges in D.C. can overrule President Trump's immigration enforcement. This is a major loss for the lunatics and a major win for the American people. Onward. From J.D. Vance. Gunther saying she chose MS-13 over Americans. Huge disappointment. Amy Comey Barrett. Florida won the national championship. Gators win the first title since going back-to-back in 06 and 07. Congrats. Today, Ripple announced it is acquiring Hidden Road for $1.25 billion, becoming the first crypto company to own and operate a global multi-asset prime broker. Together, Ripple and Hidden Road are bringing the promise of digital assets to institutional customers at scale, bridging traditional finance and decentralized finance in ways never seen before. So there you go. largest ever deals in the crypto space, but the price tag isn't what's most important. It's that this deal makes a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for crypto to access the largest and most trusted traditional markets and vice versa. All right. So they seem to think it's a pretty big deal. President Trump was talking with John Rich. He said, "Why are people booing me at the rallies when I bring up the vaccine?" And I said, "Here's why they're booing you, Mr. President. Because every human..." Hang on. Is that what he's saying right here?
Just been listening. And Trump gets through eating, and you've seen him do this move right here.
Yeah.
Wherever in the big boardroom he does this. Okay, that's what he does. He goes, "Can I ask you a question, John Rich?" He never calls me John. John Rich. I look at him, I go, "Yes, sir. What's the question?" He goes, "Well, you do a lot of big shows. Like, you're an entertainer." "Yes, sir." "You play for really big crowds?" I go, "I do. I play for really big crowds for a long time." He goes, "Well, have you seen these rallies I'm doing? Like, it's 30, 40,000 people." I said, "Yeah, it's unbelievable." He goes, "So here's the question. Why are people booing me at my rallies when I bring up the vaccine?" This is the question from the President of the United States. A guy who is very proud at that moment of the fact that he was able to stomp the gas pedal and get that thing out because he's under the impression this is going to fix the problem.
Operation Warp Speed.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a guy who, to his own admission, one of the biggest egos on the earth.
Yeah.
And he's very proud of this. And I respect him to, there is no limit.
Right.
But I'm being asked a very direct question. And so, man, I looked at him and I said, "Okay, I'm going to tell you the answer and you're not going to like it." He goes, "Okay, what's the answer?" You're going to look at me like this? I said, "Let me start off by saying this. We, the American people, do not trust the people that you were forced to trust at the time when this was happening. Let's start there." And I said, by the people we don't trust, here's who I mean. The FDA, the CDC, the NIH, the WHO, Fauci, and all the rest of them. I said, "Mr. President, we consider them to be a bunch of murderous, depopulationist psychopaths."
And his reaction was...
That's a good way to start.
His eyes are, he goes, "Unbelievable." Unbelievable. He's stunned. No, he is stunned that I said that. I said, "Now, let me tell you why they're booing you." I said, "Because all of them, including me," I said, "I would boo you. I would boo you."
You really
did not. I would boo you.
Really?
If you brought that up, and here's why. And he's looking at me, and I'm thinking to myself, this is the last time this guy's going to invite me to anything.
Yeah.
He's never going to call me again. I'm throwing massive shade on a former president's, in his mind, one of his biggest accomplishments. And it dawned on me, nobody had told the man what I was telling him right now, because they all work for him. They all got something to gain from him.
Yes,
they're not going to tell him this because they're not serving him well.
By the way, to the people that want to give President Trump some grief about having celebrity friends, you know what? You get some... If you become a celebrity, you must be doing something, right? You must be... Okay, maybe not. Maybe that's not coming out the right way. There's a lot of successful people that are very talented at life. If you're successful in one realm, you can be successful in other realms, and people have wisdom that can come through. And I've had the unpleasant scenario of having to engage in conversations with people and say things that they didn't want to hear. And that doesn't always work out well for the person that's saying it. That's just the truth of it. That's I learned later that maybe I shouldn't have an opinion on certain things. Just I'm going to sit this one out. You don't want to know what I think. But many times I've done just like John Rich here. It's like, permission to speak freely. I'll tell you everything I'm thinking. I'll always tell you people that. It's fun. I like having interesting conversations. I don't like boring conversations.
I don't work for him.
And who would think to have this conversation? It's like, well, he'll be honest. And he's speaking for a lot of people right now.
And I think a lot of him, and I want him to understand the truth about it. So I said, here's the problem. Here's why they're booing you, Mr. President, because every human being out in that rally, either themselves or they know someone directly who has been harmed by the vaccine or has even died from it, including me. I said, I got members of my own family who were forced to take it against their will to keep their jobs, and now they've got all kinds of problems, big problems, heart problems, lung problems.
I know somebody that died of COVID, and I know people who've been permanently damaged after, unfortunately.
And he's looking at me, and he looks around the table, and he goes, this is unbelievable. I mean, he goes, has anyone else heard this? Herschel Walker, he was running for Senate at the time. He goes, Mr. President, I mean, down in Georgia, my constituents come up at my rallies, and what John just said, man, I hear it every single day. Looks over at Marcia. Marcia's sitting there going, looks around the table, and then Lindsey Graham, who's sitting across. So you're here, or I'm here. I'm sorry, but you're Lindsey Graham.
I'm sorry, but you're Lindsey Graham.
Lindsey, everybody.
Okay. You're Lindsey Graham, and you're me. Okay. As I'm going into the part where I said, even in my own family, I have Lindsey Graham busts in with it swishing his Chardonnay around.
I don't know if I've ever heard something that it's swishing his Chardonnay around. Thank you for painting that picture. That's exactly what we were hoping for out of this Lindsey Graham moment.
I have Lindsey Graham busts in with it swishing his Chardonnay around and said, Mr. President, if you listen to conspiracy theorists like John Rich, the Democrats are going to take credit for what you did, and they're going to beat you in the next election with it. So I'm looking at Trump, and he's sitting over there, and he does that, and I looked at him, and I said, do not interrupt me when I'm speaking. Do you understand me?
You what?
And he looked at me, and he goes, well, I didn't mean to disrespect. Mr. President, if you listen to conspiracy theorists like John Rich, the Democrats are going to take credit for what you did, and they're going to beat you in the next election with it. So I'm looking at Trump, and he's sitting over there, and he does that, and I looked at him, and I said, do not interrupt me when I'm speaking. Do you understand me?
You what?
And he looked at me, and he goes, well, I didn't mean to disrespect you. I go, yeah, but you did. So,
Right now, you look like Wyatt Earp. And it's very intimidating.
Trump is right here. You're Lindsey Graham, okay? I go, I'm holding him.
Oh, good. Yeah. You're Lindsey Graham.
I look back up at the president. I look at him one more time. I go, now let me finish what I was saying.
Oh, man.
And then I finished it. Okay. Trump ended that by saying, so I guess no more vaccine talk. I said, I think that's a good idea. I said, I think you're going to learn a lot about it. But yes, I think that's a good idea because that's the only thing that would make us ever boo you, Mr. President.
Yeah, because you're right. I mean, that's one of the things that I think a lot of people didn't agree with him on, and it was the vaccine and him being proud of it. And Jason actually has a story that's similar to that.
Well, the thing about Trump and the vaccine, Trump never mandated the vaccine.
No, exactly.
Trump.
Very important point. It was there. It was available for someone that wanted to claim that was the only thing that you could do. Then if you want that, you can choose to do that. It was also kind of mixed in with bragging about it and selling it. There's more to it than that, but it was never forced.
Said, you're all the doctors, go figure out how to make this stop.
Right. To make this available.
And he trusted these people that we now all know are a bunch of depopulationist animals. We all know that now.
Yep. For countervailing views, go to cdc.gov, who.int, and cisa.gov/rumor control. they don't like people having conversations about our health. What a weird thing to not allow people to discuss freely. I'm not a doctor. Nobody's a doctor. Even the doctors, do you trust them? How much can you trust when you've been lied to so many times? So it's not a matter of mistrust or distrust. It's just there is no trust. So we start from an equal level of I don't know and I don't trust. Can you educate me on where you think I am and where you think the next step could be if we wanted to address some of these things? It doesn't have to be the way that it is. But that is fair. Trump never mandated it, and that's a big, big freaking deal. That pretty much absolves him from any of the bullshit. And he doesn't know. What he knows is he's trying to trust the nation's top health experts. Unfortunately, the people at the tops of these organizations, well, we've learned a lot about them now, haven't we? And we're not done learning about them either. A lot more is going to come out in this year, I promise you. This story's wild, though.
But he never mandated it, because mandating an experimental medical procedure violates the Nuremberg Code. It's a crime against humanity.
Yeah.
Which I hope we see that play out.
Please.
Because people need to be held accountable for that in a major way. I think it will.
Yeah.
So that was the story there. So, again, he has called me since then. He does text me back from the Super Bowl. He has invited me to more. So I did not lose my friendship with him. I think if anything, based on a couple of things he's asked me over the last year or so, he probably appreciates the fact that I'll say something to him that he don't really want to hear that.
And these people with an inner ear to President Trump are crucial lifelines. Because that's what Trump does. I was starting to get to that point earlier on today's show. I don't think I finished the point, but what I was saying is that President Trump has that unique ability to sit down and make you feel like you're the most important person in the room. And he will legitimately ask your opinion and consider what he's hearing. Make your case. You talk to enough people, you'll hear a lot of perspectives, and sometimes you'll hear things you don't expect, which is why you ask in the first place. And that's his superpower. I really don't think I finished that point that I was making. Sorry about that. Anyway, that was pretty wild. Victor Davis Hanson talking about the economy, if you want to hear his thoughts.
China are so destructive of their economies. Why is China booming? How did India become an economic powerhouse when it has these exorbitant tariffs on American imports? How did Vietnam, of all places, become such a different country, even though it has these prohibitive tariffs? Why isn't Germany, before its energy problems, why wasn't it a wreck? It's got tariffs on almost everything that we send them. How is the EU even functioning with these tariffs? I thought tariffs destroyed an economy, but they seem to like them. And they're angry that they're no longer asymmetrical. Apparently, our people who are tariffing us think tariffs improve their economy. Maybe they're right. I don't know. The second thing is, why would you get angry at the person who is reacting to the asymmetrical tariff and not the people who inaugurated the tariff? Why is Canada mad at us when it's running a $63 billion surplus and it has tariffs on some American products at 250%? Doesn't it seem like the people who started this asymmetrical, if I could use the word trade war, should be the culpable people, not the people who are reluctantly reacting to it? China has...
That's the point I'm making. He's trying to call them out for the tariffs and trying to get them to stop. And that works for me. A bunch of Gen Z voters at South Carolina University. Charlie Kirk proved me wrong. A massive child abuse ring exposed in Florida. Over 1 million videos involved, including babies. Very glad to see efforts to stop any of that stuff. Amuse reporting paid protest NGOs were told not to pay black protesters. Check out that story. Huh. Some black influencers went online to warn black people not to attend. The DC area is almost 50% black, and yet very few black faces were seen at the anti-Tesla Musk protests yesterday.
If anything were to happen during that protest and there's some black people in there, you'll be the first to be attacked. Mind your business. Stay home. Go shop in the black businesses or black-owned businesses.
So there you go. Hadn't even thought about that. Let's check in with the stock market one more time, and I'm going to wrap up today. Oh, we are down 1 point today. We were up. We were doing so good. Now we're down a point. All right. Previous close was 37. All right, we're down 379. We'll see how it ends up. But I think negotiating for some common sense trade barriers and parameters, it makes sense on levels that do not concern me in the short run. I think in the medium term and long run, common sense will rule the day. That's what happens. I'll put like 3 or 4 words together into one word, and I go, So yeah, I'm still not freaking out about the stocks, but they just keep talking about it. Meanwhile, the U.S. jobs numbers are through the roof, much higher than anticipated. Inflation is down really, really, really low, is my understanding. That sounds like a win to me. And we're negotiating so that other countries will drop tariffs on American goods, so American companies can sell more American things across the world, which should improve our economy and make those businesses stronger to change the global trade routes and the trade supplies. Hence the reason to be involved in Greenland. Hence the reason to be involved in the Panama Canal. We're reorganizing the board, reorganizing things. And if this reorganization is going to help Americans, and humanity in general, then I'm going to be in favor of that. So that's what brings me to the news every day to figure out what's happening. And that's why I appreciate having you here today on the New American Media. Like I said, go to cisa.gov/rumor control, the CDC, and what is the other one? What's it say? WHO and CDC websites at the bottom. Follow the New American Media on Instagram, Facebook, True Social, Rumble, Odyssey, Twitch, Kick, DLive, YouTube. Just search the New American Media. Telegram and Signal at TNAM and TNAM Chat. TNAM and TNAM Chat. On X, we're at American_media_. And subscribe to our podcast, The Agree to Disagree Show. That's the one that covers The Agree to Disagree Show and the TNAM AM Show. That's on Spotify and Apple. Subscribe to The Agree to Disagree Show, please. And then finally, we're on Patreon at The New American Media, Venmo at Brian Engelman, Cash App, $ Brian Engelman, and PayPal at Fuzz Installment. If anybody would like to contribute to our operations. That's all I have for you today. We'll check back in tomorrow. Follow us in all the other places, especially Rumble and X, because we can't rely on all of our YouTube audience to come over because we just can't build a foundation with those people over there. But we exist, and we'll lose you as an audience if you only know us on that platform. So jump over to Rumble and on X and Truth Social, all the places I told you. And we'll go from there. All right, signing out. I appreciate you. I love you, and we'll talk to you again soon. Take care, everyone. Peace. See you, Bella's Chance. Adios.